Hey everybody, you're here, you made it, we are live. Welcome to Creative Live. James Patrick is about to come out and show us some amazing things of how we can shoot swimwear in this studio. My name is Mark Wallace. I'll be hosting today. If you have questions, if you have comments, please leave those in the chat and then I can zip those up on the screen just like this. We have somebody joining from Florida. In fact, I have to do this to make that work. We have somebody joining from Florida. And so, George, it's nice to see you here. Any questions that you have for James or any comments, any kind of conversations, if you have an aha moment, let us know. The more you participate, the more we reach out to the world, the better the algorithm is for us and the better these classes are for everybody. I want to remind you that this class is free while we are watching it live, and then we are going to let this play out for the next 24 hours so people around the world can watch this. But if you want to own this class, then you need to zip over to CreativeLive and purchase it or become a subscriber. The link to do that is in the description of this video, and so you can click on that and see exactly how to do that. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you to Mr. James.
What is going on? Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here for a couple reasons. This is, I don't know, my fourth or so CreativeLive class. But in each of the classes, we've kind of built on previous lessons. And in this one of the reasons that I've been looking forward to this is all about the practicality. So we're going to be taking a lot of this stuff, and I'll be repeating a lot of the stuff that if you didn't catch some of my last classes, you're not going to miss that in this class. But we're going to be talking about what this works or how this works in a real world application. So we're going to be looking at shooting swimwear in a controlled studio environment. So the first question that might come up is, well, why would I shoot swimsuits in a studio environment versus going outside? And there's a few different reasons for that. One might be the production efficiency of shooting in a studio. So like shooting catalog work, you can get through more pieces. Number two is you're eliminating other variables such as weather or ambient light. So you're controlling all of the elements within the studio. Number three is we're going to get into, you can actually be extraordinarily creative in a studio space, and we're going to be going through a lot of different setups showing how you can shoot everything from e-commerce to high-end editorial fashion, and then all the variations that we can do in between there. Now, when we're shooting swimwear, swimwear can be a little tricky in the sense that, well, the model's not wearing a lot, and thus we're not hiding anything. And because we're not hiding anything, we have to be very intentional about how we're lighting, how we're posing the model, and also how we're directing and making sure that the models feel comfortable on set. So you're gonna see elements of how we're kind of working on each of these things throughout the course of this workshop. Now, one of the things that I am so excited about is the fact that because this is live and we're here with CreativeLive, and because we're on YouTube right now, you can put your questions, your comments, your curiosities as they're coming up in real time, and I can address them in real time. So if there's anything that you're curious about, like why is he using this lens or that lens, or why this modifier or that modifier, or what would this look like, please put it in the chat. I want this to be as engaged as possible. And the more questions you ask, the more I'm able to tailor this workshop specifically to address the things that you're curious about the most. And that's really what makes CreativeLive so different from other online education platforms, is the fact that you can be an integrated and engaged member of this. So what we're going to be starting with is we're going to be starting with a catalog or an e-commerce style photo shoot. So we're going to come over here and we have our amazing model Celeste, who's going to be working with us. Yep. So Celeste, I'm going to have you start right about here for me. And when we're thinking about catalog work and what our goal is with catalog work, our goal with catalog is we're not selling the model, we're selling what the model's wearing. So the suit is going to be the hero of these first few shots. So I'm going to bring in just a single softbox. And we're just going to raise this up. Now my goal with this is I want very soft, flattering light on our subject. I don't want a lot of shadow. I want the light to feel pretty even and not overly directional. All right, we're going to start right about here. There we go. Okay, let's see what that looks like for us. So my settings that I'm going to be shooting at here, when I'm in studio, particularly if I'm shooting product, like an e-commerce would be a product shoot, I want to be anywhere between f8 and f13. And the reason I want to be at a closed down aperture is I want a lot of detail in the shots. I want to be able to see the suit. I want to be able to have detail without any fall off from the front of the photo to the back of the photo. So we want a tack sharp photo, and also if the subject's moving at all, it is going to help compensate for that a little bit. So we're not having a lot of area for error on this. Okay, so Celeste, let me have you, I like this pose with that right knee bent. Let me have the left hand on the hip, just like that, perfect. Let's pull some hair forward on both sides, just like that, perfect. And let's make sure the hair is cleared off the suit, but it's on the shoulders. So we're showing the straps of the suit, yep, but covering just the front of the shoulders, left hand on the hip, just like that. All right, and we're gonna turn this on right here. And this is just gonna be a baseline test, just to even just see what we're looking at in regards to light. All right, so you're gonna look right in camera here, perfect. All right, so let's take a look at that. All right, so once again, my goal with this is very clean, very even, very soft light, almost a little bit flat, and that's okay. It's okay if this light is a little flat simply because right now our goal is just to show the suit itself. So I'm just going to make this a little more directional, right about here. There we go. And raise that up a bit. All right. There we go. That has a really nice highlight on her face. Suit looks good. Open the shoulders up towards me, just like that. Good. Bring the smile in for me. Perfect, right there. Chin down just slightly. Good, just like that. Drop the left hand. Have the left hand fall behind the hip just a little bit. There we go. Good. Perfect. Beautiful. Actually, open that left arm up just slightly for me. Right there. Good. Okay. Chin down just a bit. Now, one of the things I want to point out right now is how I'm giving Celeste direction. When I'm giving direction with any model, one of the things that I want to make sure is I'm giving micro directions. So I'm not saying, okay, Celeste, what I want you to do is I want you to turn to the left, I want you to put your right leg forward, and then I want you to open the shoulders up towards me, turn your chin to the left. Okay, go. And did you retain any of that?
2 things.
2 things, okay. So if I were to say, okay, let me have you turn yourself this way here, other way for me, yep, just like that. All right, and now step forward with that front leg, your right leg, there you go, good. Now open up the shoulders towards me, just like that. I love how that right foot is brought up. Can we bring it up just a little bit more? Perfect. Open the shoulders up even a little more, just like that. I'm working in micro directions. I'm moving one piece of her at a time. And in fact, for a lot of shots, what I'll end up doing is, because a lot of these shots look really good, so if I'm like right here, for example, and I really like this shot, so I'm gonna take this shot here, good. Now chin down just slightly, bring the eyes in here, perfect. Keep everything the same except that right hand, bring the right hand to the hip for me, just like that. Chin comes down here, just like that, good. Bring the smile in for me, perfect. So once again, I'm taking the shots as I'm giving the direction. So it helps to really just work her through the shoot and get her to feel comfortable, and also to start creating a lot more shots as we're going through. Now, let's take a moment to look at the actual poses that we have her doing. So if I were to have you face me straight on, just like that, and just hands down to the side, just like that, perfect. Okay, so we take this shot here. Let's actually have the hands a little closer to the body, just like that, perfect. Okay, now, let me just have you have the hands up on the hips, just like that, perfect, right there. Just between those two shots, we're going to get a massive difference in her frame. The reason being is when the arms are really close to the body, what we're doing is we're really broadening what her torso looks like. And just by creating a window or some separation between the arm and the body, it narrows the waistline a lot. So even someone who has a very narrow waist like Celeste, you can make the waist look broader, which might not be something you want to do with your clients, but you can thin it out simply by bringing the arm slightly away from the body. Let me show this in another way. I want you to turn yourself this way here.
So James, just before you zip on, we do have a question. Could you tell us what light you're using? Is this a Godox 8400?
Yep. Yeah, it's a Flashpoint 400, but same, exact same. And then we have just a large softbox attached to it. And that's another thing I should mention, and I'm glad they asked that. The reason I'm using a large modifier for this shot is because I want the light to be incredibly soft. So
also, they're asking, is this just one big softbox right now?
Yep, that is it. We are using one light and only one light. So any of the other lights that you see set up are not on. And in fact, when I'm only going to turn, if I ever turn any light on, I'm going to tell you what light is turned on at any point. So the only thing we have on is our key light, which is that Godox 400 and the large softbox. Now, the reason a large softbox is if I were to try to take the same photo but with a smaller softbox, what am I going to end up with? Well, it's going to be a harder light because the quality of light, meaning how hard or how soft that light is in relation to how big your light source is in relation to your subject. So if you have a really big softbox, you're going to have really soft light, provided that the softbox is close to your subject. If you take a really big softbox and you move it all the way across the studio, you just made that light a lot harder as it hits the skin because it's now smaller in relation to your subject. Conversely, I could take a really small softbox, but if I put it really, really, really close to our subject, we're going to make the light softer. Okay? So it's not just the size of your modifier, it's the size of your modifier and then how close it is to your subject. This is a pretty big softbox and it's pretty close to our subject. We can make it softer simply by moving it in closer. So we'll do that. Let me raise this up here. Right, like this. Okay. We're going to bring this in pretty close to her. Let's do it about 45 degrees. There we go. So this light is now several feet closer to her.
They're also asking about round versus rectangular.
Round versus rectangular. So the shape of the softbox. So I'll get to that in uno momento. All right. So because I moved the light closer, let me just toggle it down just a little bit just to compensate for that. Okay. By moving it closer, what it did was two things. One, the light got softer. So this is really soft light on her skin. Very soft light. And the way you can tell if a light is soft is the gradation of highlight to shadow. There's a lot of transition between your highlights and your shadows. Now, moving the light closer, particularly using one light, is going to increase the contrast, so your darks are going to get darker because the light is a little bit more directional, but it is softer light, okay? The other question was, the size or the shape of your modifier. So the way I think about shapes of modifiers really comes down to if it's two modifiers that are about the same size. So we're just going to say, let me grab this right here. Okay, so if I were to look at these two, we'll use this camera right here. All right, these two right here, they're roughly about the same size, not the same square inches, okay? But one's rectangular and one's circular. What is the difference in the quality of light? Really nothing. But what they might do is they're going to create different catch lights in your subject's eyes. So when you see the light flash in your subject's eyes, one's going to look like a rectangle and one's going to look like a circle. The reason I might prefer circles are circles feel a little bit more natural to me, like the sun is circular. So if I see a circular catch light in someone's eye, that feels, at least to me, a little bit more natural. So I tend to prefer that versus a rectangular or a straight edge modifier. Now, this is where it might be a little different, is if I were to use something like this right here, which is a strip box. Now, yes, this is going to be a rectangular shape in the catch light, but also because this is so narrow, the light is not going to be spreading out as much as if it were this, or certainly not like this, okay? So I tend to look at the shape of a light modifier, more specifically what the catch light is going to look like, unless it's something specialized like this, which is like a strip box, which the whole idea is let's just try to narrow the beam of light. So I hope that answered your question, but let me know if I need to add any more context to that. All right, so let's go back now to... Yep.
And that is, can you please describe your ambient light situation?
Oh, this is a great question.
Oh, I wasn't even on screen, but yeah.
Yeah,
please describe, let me do that again. So the question is, can you please describe your ambient light situation?
So let me show you what the ambient light looks like. I'm set at, my ISO is 100, which is the base ISO on my Canon. I'm at f11 and my shutter speed is at 1/125. When I'm in studio, my shutter speed is almost like 99% of the time it's at 1/125. It's fast enough that I'm not going to get blurred motion, but also it is well below my sync speed to my lights, which I think is at 1/200. Yeah, 1/200. And f11 is just a nice sharp aperture. So I'm going to take a photo and that strobe is not going to fire. And this is the shot we got. So ambient light is a 0 factor right now because of my settings. Now, if I were shooting at 2.8 or if I were at a higher ISO, I might have to be a little more aware of the ambient light. But even though we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 studio lights, 5 video studio lights to light the video here, they aren't impacting the photos at all. So once again, another benefit to shooting in studios, I'm controlling that. Like, these ambient lights do not have any impact. In fact, even if we have our overhead house lights on, it wouldn't impact the shots at all. We just have them off for this live feed. Okay, turn yourself this way here and bend that right knee for me. Open the core up towards me. Keep turning, keep turning, keep turning, just like that. Have that left arm just right down the side of the hip. There you go. Actually, have it just on the side of it. Yeah, there, just like that. Okay, I just want to take this as an example. Now, from there, just have that left hand come out just a little bit more. In fact, let's bring it up here. Yeah, right there. Perfect, good. Just like that. Now have it on the hip. Just like that. Perfect. Good. Okay, let's pull those up. All right, so the first one, we just have her arm just down the side of her body. And you can see we've increased the size of her waist from her rib cage to her arm. Like, that's how our eyes read that. Versus that. Her waist didn't change sizes, but but our mind and our eyes just read it so much differently because we've created separation there. Or having her hand on her hip opens up this window right here. I am a massive proponent when it comes to posing of creating triangles whenever possible. They're great for leading lines, they really slim out the body, and they just create interesting angles. So if I were to turn you open here just like that, there we go, and cross the right leg over the left leg, just like that. Pout the elbows out a little bit for me. Bring your chin this way and up slightly. Keep the eyes here, bring the smile in. Beautiful, love that shot. Let me bring that light back up in power. There we go. There we go, chin up even a little more. Perfect, good, just like that. Love that. And you can see what the triangles are doing, is they're creating, one, nice windows in the shot. They create leading lines, but also it just creates a nice balance in the shot. Keep everything on your left side the same. I want this right hand up here, just like that. Bring your chin back towards me. So keep the attention back here. Turn your face back here. There we go, good, just like that. Beautiful. So we can create triangles above and below. Turn your face all the way towards me. There, good. Tilt the head like this. There you go, just like that. Perfect, beautiful. Instead of the hand like this, turn the wrist down. There we go, just like that. Beautiful. So one of the things I'm doing, ooh, no, we gotta take that shot again. I like that shot a lot. Chin to the left, just slightly. There, chin down just a little bit. Beautiful. Love that. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm actually putting myself in the mirror pose that I want her to replicate. The reason I do that is a couple things. One, I've become pretty good at directing when I'm directing a talent to tell them what their right side is and what their left side is. It's the opposite of mine. But maybe I get it wrong, or the model hears it wrong, or, you know, hey, a model's on set and maybe she forgets. It happens every single photo shoot. But if I'm directing and I'm saying, okay, mirror this, all of a sudden it's easier for her to just follow my instructions too. So if I'm here and here, she's able to copy the exact same thing, just like that. There we go. Of course, Victoria just took a photo of me doing that, which is awesome. Beautiful, love that. Absolutely love that. Now, let me point something else out that we're doing, is the position of our key light as it relates to our subject. Right now, the key light, and for those that aren't familiar, key light just means main light. It's the main light we're using. I'm, for the most part, pointing the center of this light at our subject, right here. And that's going to give us that hot spot of light that we're seeing on her face, right? But if we were to turn this light away from her, so I'm going to raise this up a bit, and now I'm going to turn the light away from her, right about here. So just to give this perspective, and I'm glad you can see it on this camera here, my edge of the softbox is at least a foot and a half in front of her. The center of the softbox is right here, probably 3 feet in front of her face. Let's take a look at what that shot is going to be when the light is not even pointed at our subject. All right, let's turn you this way towards the light. Bend that right knee for me. There we go, good. Open up the core towards us, right there, perfect. Beautiful, bring the smile in. Good, right there, perfect. The light becomes exponentially softer. And the reason it becomes so soft is because the light is more indirect on our subject. We're using just the edges of the softbox to illuminate our subject. So the brightest part of a softbox is going to be the center of the softbox. So that's where the light is housed, right in there. That's where the bulb is. So right here, you're going to get the brightest light. Even though it's going through this diffusion fabric, it's going to be the brightest right here. You're going to get softer light on the edges, but you're also going to get even softer light out here, because the inside of a softbox is just lined with a reflective fabric, so the light is bouncing all around in there. It's going to bounce out here, and it's going to illuminate out here, but it's going to illuminate much softer because it's so indirect. And this is called feathering the light. So you can get really, really soft, very flattering light simply by turning your light away from your subject to create something.
James, we have a question, and that is, what is the advantage of using a shutter speed that's lower than your sync speed?
There is none. That's a good question. There is none. I just like 1/125. Shooting at 1/200 is going to look identical right there. The reason I don't shoot 1/200 is so many of my cameras, not this one, but so many of my cameras, even at 1/200, there would be enough of the shutter closing before the light fired, even though it was within the sync speed that the camera was supposed to allow. I would still see my shutter at like covering like 1/10 of my frame, or maybe not even 1/10, maybe just 1/15 of my frame. And that was enough to get me to go to, you know, a little bit slower of a shutter speed, and 1/125 was just what it ended up being. This camera I could shoot 1/200 and I'm not gonna have any issue, but I shot with that other camera or other cameras for like 20 years. So it's just part of my, it's one of my little idiosyncrasies. But no, there's really no benefit. The shots are gonna look identical because the ambient light is not impacting these shots at all. It's only the strobe, and the strobe flash duration is going to illuminate the exact same at 1/125 as 1/200.
Now, does that hold true if you go way slower, like half a second, 1 second, 2 seconds? How does that, I mean, is there some advantage there with rear curtain sync? What's the difference between just slowing it down a little bit and slowing it down a lot?
Well, at some point, if you're slowing down too much, you're going to allow the ambient light to start to impact your photo. Which, if you want it to impact your photo, great. But if you don't, like I do not want ambient light impacting these shots, then that's going to be an issue. So we can start to see at what point ambient light is going to start impacting. So when I'm looking through at my viewfinder, and it's showing me what my exposure is, just in that, you know, you see the little exposure, you have the arrow pointing down, that's properly exposed, and 1 stop, 2 stops, 3 stops on either side. If I were to go to a half-second photo, which is properly exposed, it's properly exposed for these studio lights that we have on. So that is going to be significantly brighter because we're now letting the ambient light illuminate the photo versus, if I were to go to that 1/125 again, same shot, right there. So at the 1/125, we've cut out any chance of ambient light impacting this shot versus the other one's what? What did I shoot that at? 1/.
So we also have the question, which is why not use the modeling light so you can see what you're doing? I can answer that because we are shooting video. We have to have tons of light in here so you can see what we're doing, but I'll let James answer that as well.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate what Mark was saying, like we have these video lights up, so I can see very clearly what I'm shooting with on the back of my LCD screen. Honestly, I almost never have my modeling light on with 2 exceptions. Reason being is normally I have house lights on so I can see anyway. Like it is not hard to see what the, like to see our subject to be able to focus on her. The times that I find modeling lights helpful are when I'm actually honing in or gridding down or really focusing the light, like if I'm using, and we'll do this today, an optical snoot, or I'm using really tight grids, and I need to see exactly where the light is hitting on my subject versus like a giant softbox. It's pretty easy to know where the light's gonna go in a giant softbox. But if I'm using a 10-degree grid and I just wanna light her face and nothing but her face, well, I'm gonna need to see where that light's hitting and where the fall off is, so I'm gonna turn on that modeling light in that case. But otherwise, usually my modeling lights are off.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick reminder here to let you know that this class is free to watch while James is teaching live, and we're going to let this replay for about 24 hours so people from around the world, different geographies, can see this. But if you want to own this class, then you can do that by buying it. You can click on the link in the description of this video, or you can become an annual subscriber to CreativeLive, and then you have access to all of the classes on CreativeLive. We have thousands of them. And also, we have, right now, we are approaching a new record for concurrent viewers on YouTube, and so you can help us out. This chat is fantastic. If you have questions, let us know. If you have comments, if you have aha moments, put those into the chat. That just helps the algorithm push this out so more people can discover this class today while we're live. And if you have some of those suggestions, we have comments, we want to know all about that stuff. So right now, it looks like we are caught up on questions, and so we are going to go back to James. Take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you can engage, the more questions you ask. I absolutely love the questions. And, you know, I've been shooting for 20 years, and sometimes you just forget why you do what you do. Like that question about why I shoot at my shutter speed. Well, I forgot until someone asked that, well, my old cameras were really bad at the sync speed. So the more you can ask, the more I can illuminate things that might seem completely new to you, but hey, I might be overlooking. Okay, so what we're going to be doing at this point is we're still doing catalog shoots. Like our goal is still very soft, very even light, is we're going to be adding in one of these, which is just a big old V-flat. And a V-flat has two sides. You have a dark side, like Star Wars, and the light side. And really, what you're trying to do is you're either trying to bounce light, which is the white, or you're trying to subtract light. You can also use them as flags, too, which is really helpful, and we'll be doing that, too. But for this, we want to bounce light. I want to bounce some light back onto the dark side of our subject. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this up next to her. And what this will do is this will create a soft bank of light back onto the right side of our subject. And if we want it brighter, we move it closer to her. If we don't want it to reflect as much, we move it further away. It's pretty simple to use. All right, so let's just see what this looks like. The light is still feathered, so I didn't move the feathering of the light. But this should fill in that other side of her. There we go. Yep. That's super soft. Super soft light. So just to give a contrast, this is the same light without the V-flat. And that's adding the V-flat in. You can see how much it filled in all the shadows on that right side of her face. So from here, I do want to talk about a couple things that I've been doing just in how I'm shooting this. The first thing is I've shot all these shots at about 100 millimeters. The reason I like to shoot with a zoom lens, especially for e-commerce, but a lot of times for editorial as well, is I find zoom lenses are far more flattering to the subject than a wide angle lens. Now this happens to also be a wide angle lens, so I could shoot this at 24. But I find that shooting wide angle tends to distort a little more if I'm not careful about where the camera is pointed. Yeah, let's take a look at that. So if I'm not careful and I'm tilting the camera up too much or I'm tilting the camera down too much, it's going to really elongate parts of the body that I don't want to be elongated. And to me, this isn't really pushing the suit that much. When I zoom in, so I'm going back to 105 on this, it's collapsing the frame a bit. It's pushing the background further away. It's removing the chance of the photo distorting, particularly at the edges of the shot. And it's really keeping the focus on where we want it. The next thing is where my camera is positioned. Celeste was not cursed with a lack of height. How tall are you? 5'11". 5'11", okay. So I'm at least a foot below her eye line with my shot. The reason being is I find if this camera is too high, this is about eye line, and we're just gonna angle this down. To me, this makes her feel shorter. This makes her feel like we're pressing, like just the view feels like it's pushing down on her. It doesn't lift her up. It doesn't make her feel stronger. I really do not like shooting down on people, and absolutely not in studio. Being below eye level tends to give them a little more prominence, a little more power in the shot, a little more in control. All right, and look right in here, chin up for me. So same shot, but just lifts her up just a little bit more. So when I'm looking at composition, when I'm looking at lens choice, I'm usually with a telephoto lens, so this is at 100. Honestly, I would much rather prefer to be at 200, or like 180 to 200, but I have this wide to telephoto just in case we end up doing any wide angle shots during this, but around 100 millimeters is absolutely fine. And then a little bit lower than eye level, just to create just that little bit extra height to her, a little bit extra presence in the shot. So now we're gonna look at posing. And when I'm thinking e-commerce, there are a few shots that we just have to get, because once again, we're trying to sell the suit itself. So when we're trying to sell the suit itself, we obviously need a good front shot. And then from there, we're going to need a 3/4 shot. A 3/4 shot is just turned right here, just like this. There we go. Bend that front knee up, open up towards me, just like that. Perfect, bring the smile in, good. Bring both hands to the hips. There we go, just like that. From there, we're going to need a side shot. So just turn completely to the side, bend that knee up just slightly, good, just like that. Pull the hair off that front shoulder. We need to be able to show, you have a little bit of hair caught in the tie, right there, perfect. You need to be able to show the full side of the suit. There we go, just like that. Perfect. And then we would get a back shot. We don't need to get the back shot on this suit, but we would get a back shot for a catalog shot. And with that, consistency between all the shots is really, really, really important, because these are all going to be running next to each other, either in advertisements, in a catalog, on a website, so they need to look the same. So typically when we're doing a catalog shoot and we have lots of product to get through, once we get the light dialed in, we do not like to change it too much during the photo shoot. So this entire time, once again, we've only used a single light, and then we've used a V-flat to fill in the light. But we could use another light to fill in the light. So I'm going to hand this V-flat back to Victoria. There we go. And we're gonna pop in another strobe. I'm just gonna use this right here.
So before you do that, a couple of people are asking, how big is this studio? This studio must be huge, because my 85 and 105 usually take me all the way against the wall. So can you let us know, how big is this place?
This studio space, I believe, is 2,000 square feet. However, we're not using at least 1,000 of it because we have storage over on that side that we're not using for this. So I want to say like the cyc wall to this back wall here, I want to say this is, if I remember correctly, this is 26 feet from, actually it's less than 26 feet because we have about 5 feet behind the wall for storage. So from this wall to where I could be, it's about 20 feet, but I am, how far do you think I am? I'm probably 10 feet from our subject. 10 feet, and that's giving, and I could shoot that at 100 on a full frame camera, no problem. So you don't need as much room as you think. But like I said, I tend to like shooting at 200. At 200, I would need to be 15 feet back or 18 feet back. All right, so when we're thinking about a fill light, we can do a couple different things. Now, if we have the fill light at the exact opposite direction of our key light, so both are at 45 degrees, probably going to get some pretty flat light, which might be what you want. We'll take a look at that. So we have our key light at 45 degrees, we have our fill light at 45 degrees. Let me just try to set them both at the same power. Yeah, I think that's right. All right. All right, cross the right leg in front of the left leg. There we go, perfect. And by the way, this is a pose I absolutely love for front-facing shots, which is just crossing one leg in front of the other. It accentuates the hips, it creates a nice taper in the waistline. All right, now have both hands on the hips for me. There we go, good. Chin up just slightly, beautiful. There we go. And that is wildly flat light. I personally do not like overly flat light. This to me is way too flat. The fact that there's almost no shadow, there's almost no direction of light, to me feels boring. And even though this is a catalog shoot, and even though we want soft light and consistent light, I still think we can have just a little more dimension. So I'm going to cut the power down on my fill light quite a bit. I'm going to take it, it was at a quarter power, I'm going to take it to 1/32 power. I might have cut it too much. Let's see. Yeah, I think I cut it too much. Let's bring it back up to 1/16 power. Better. So we're still filling in light on this, but we're still allowing for there to be some direction to this, some dimension. To me, this feels much better than the predecessor of completely flat light. So this is completely flat light. They're both perfectly even, both at 45 degrees. I mean, she might as well just be standing in front of a giant north-facing window. Like, that's about as soft as you're gonna get. This is still very soft, but because there's some direction, there's now dimension to the light. And I could push this further, I could control this further. I can just say, well, let's take it to 1/8 power. If I wanna fill this in just a little bit more. I like that even better. It adds just enough shadow to this right side to not be completely flat, to still be some direction to the light. So to me, this is a successful light. I like this light here, and I could shoot a lot of shots like this. Now, I want to get you away from the idea that you need to have all your lights at 45-degree angles to your subject. So, for example, you could bring your fill light to directly face your subject. So what I've done is I brought my fill light, I'm just going to move it right about here, pretty much at a 90-degree angle to my subject. So my key light is coming in from 45 degrees, right about here. My fill light is coming in from 90 degrees. Let's move it right about here. This will fill in some of the shadow, but it will allow the light to fall off more onto that right side of her body. And I love the catch light in her eyes. Absolutely love that. So we're still filling in shadow. And because I moved the light so far back, we could pop the power up more. I like this pose you're doing right now. Chin up just a bit. There we go. Bring your chin over this way. Perfect. Beautiful. Love it. Absolutely love it. So where you're positioning your fill light can completely change what the shadows are looking like on your subject. I tend to like my fill light coming at 90 degrees because I usually like, if I'm bringing shadows to one side, I like to really control how much the shadows are falling off on that side. Now from here, one of the things I might look at, we have her about 2 feet away from the background. And this to me would feel pretty consistent with what I would want for a catalog photo shoot. The background is lit enough from our key light and our fill light that it would be easy if they needed to cut her out and throw her in a catalog. But if I wanted to create more separation between her and the background, I'd want to add some lights to the background. So that's going to be the next thing we do, is we're going to add some lights to the background. But in order to do that, we're going to need to get her away from the background a little bit. So what we're going to do, let's kill this light here. All right, Celeste, I'm going to have you come up to right about here for me. Another step closer for me. Now, when I'm lighting the background, one of the things I want to make sure is that my background lights are not impacting my subject too much, which would be easy to do. It'd be easy to have my background lights turned up so much that they're impacting the photo. Now, they are going to impact the photo in the sense that they're shooting against a white wall, so it's going to create a lot more, like, ostensibly ambient light bouncing around the entire set. So the whole shot is going to end up being brighter. But if they're
James,
turned up...
before you zip on,
Yep.
we do have a question about how are you metering all of this stuff? How do you know how bright the lights should be on the backdrop compared to the key light, the fill light? Are you using TTL, or is this all just intuitive? How are you metering things?
A lot of this to me is intuitive, simply because I've been shooting in studio for almost my entire career. I know roughly within a half stop what my light is going to end up doing. So it's not hard for me to set a light, take a test shot, and be within a half stop, maybe a stop at the most, away from where I want to be, and then just adjust on the fly from there, whether it's adjusting my shutter speed or adjusting the light.
We also had a quick question. Could you quickly just walk through each of the lights, the modifiers? So it looks like you have 6 lights going right now. Could you just walk and show this what those are?
So we have 5 lights we're using. You do not need to use 5 lights to take this shot, and I'll show you how you can use less. Our key light is the only light right now on our subject. From there, I have 4 lights on the background. There are these white little alien bee lights that I bought when I was in college 20 years ago. They still work, so I still use them. They are each with a 7-inch reflector, all at 45-degree angles towards the background. I have 2 high and 2 low, just to create an even bank of light hitting the background. Now, if I didn't have 4 lights, we could turn off 1 on each side and just use 2 lights. And I'd probably drop the height on the top one about halfway just to create it, and you can make almost the exact same shot. I'm using them because I have them. And I have them turned down about, I believe it's about, if I were to meter it, probably about a stop below my key light. I just need them to light up the wall, but if, once again, if they're turned up too high, it's going to create a bounce back into my lens that is not going to look terribly flattering. So let's just do a test shot right here. Let's just see what this pops like for us. Oh, that's pretty good. So the background is completely white. You are going to notice, once again, because we're shooting lights into a white wall, that's just going to create more fill light everywhere. I mean, light just bounces. That's what it does. So we are going to get a little bit more fill in those shadows, but I will show you what happens if we turn these lights up too much. Right now, these lights are about 1/4 power each. I'm just going to toggle all of them up to 100. Leave the key light exactly the same. Take the same shot, look right in here. Good, chin up for me. Oof, you can just hear those lights pop. Yeah. You can even see we're creating, like we're getting so much light bouncing off the walls, it's actually creating highlights on her cheeks and creating shadows from her hair. That's how much those lights are bouncing off that background. But also look like it kind of like overpowers the key light a little bit. Like the strongest light is from behind her. Like I don't like those shadows on her face at all. And it's erasing any of the light control that we have in our key light. So if I, like I said, I don't have a light meter on me, but if I were to meter these, I'm gonna guess these background lights are at f8 and I'm shooting at f11. So they're enough to light the background. They are going to bounce some light back into the camera, but not so much so that they're impacting our subject in a negative way. There we go. We'll just dump the power on those. So let's take this shot again. Come another half step for me, right there. And also how far she is away from the background is going to help control how much that light is hitting her as well. Now, to me, this is a successful catalog shot. We've brought her away from the background. The fact that we're lighting the background creates separation from the background. We still have a nice gradation of shadow from this upper left side of her face to the right side of her face. So we are getting a fall off of light. But it's incredibly soft light, and the light is very even. So this would be a very easy catalog setup to do. So one of the things I mentioned was you can use the V-flats to flag the light. So we're going to show that. So Victoria, let's bring these V-flats out. I'll take this one. And we're going to set these up on either side of Celeste with the black side facing her, just like that. And then open it up. Yeah, and let's bring it in way close to her. Right about there's good. Okay. So what this is going to do is 2 things. One, it's going to prevent any light that was hitting the backdrop that was flaring into my lens. It's going to block that. But 2, it's going to prevent any of the light that was bouncing around on the walls or on the cyc or on the backdrop or off the ceiling from hitting the sides of her body. And this is called a negative fill. So what we're going to see, notice how rich the shadows got on that side of her face. You could just see going back and forth. we're filling, like that's light bouncing around. This is with the negative fill brought in. Even on this other side of her, it creates more shadow. So this is a way, if you wanted to create more contrast in your shots, you can use negative fill. And we could bring these in even closer, and the closer we bring it in to her, the more, you're not claustrophobic, are you?
Gonna be.
You're gonna be, yeah. The more negative fill effect we can have in the shots. So right here, we could be creating, yeah, I mean, look how much shadow hits that side of her arm. Just from putting that V flat right next to her. And you can see it from here to here. She didn't move, the light didn't move. That is negative fill. That is the V flat basically sucking light away from hitting her body. So this is just a really fun way. Once again, we've separated her from the background because we have those lights on the background. So we've created that separation. But if we wanted more contrast, and I'm a big contrast fan. I like lots of contrast in my shots without compromising the quality of light, so soft light. We can make some really nice, punchy shots. Perfect right there. Beautiful. Oh, I love that. It's soft. There's really good fall off. We don't need a fill in that. Like, I feel like that light is soft enough that we're lighting her and it looks great. Now, I do want to show.
We do have a quick question before you zip on. So, Maduk, I don't know, says, does it matter what color outfit the photographer wears? And I think they're referring to, like when you have a light meter, you can have some bounce from an outfit, but do you really consider what you're wearing when you're shooting, and if so, why?
I think you can't call yourself a photographer unless you're wearing black all the time. Like that's part of the photographer code. You know, I would have to say, would I be concerned? No, I would not. I don't know if I would ever think about my clothes reflecting light so much. I've heard of photographers who will not use chrome colored light stands because they could reflect light. That is not me. However, here'd be a great example of when this would come up. We had a classic car photographer in the studio. And for an entire week, he was just bringing in classic car after classic car, photographing classic cars. Well, what are classic cars known for? Chrome details and chrome bumpers. Chrome is like just having a mirror on your car, right? Well, that meant that we had to cover up every single thing in this studio that could have reflected light with black gaffer tape. So all of our electrical conduits, all the outlets, anything that had any reflective surface at all, you would see almost 100% in those chrome bumpers. In those instances, he only had black light stands because he couldn't have anything reflecting in. That's the only time I've seen that happen.
We're going to take a quick break really fast just to remind people that this class is free to watch while we are live here on YouTube. You can watch this. We're going to let it roll for about 24 hours so people from around the world can watch this live. You can watch the replay. But if you want to own this class and see it in the future, you need to buy it, and you can buy it on the CreativeLive website. There is a link in the description of this video. In fact, we had somebody saying, hello, is this CreativeLive? Yes, it is. We're back. So CreativeLive, you may have seen, was going away, but it came back, and so we are definitely here. And so you can own this class either by purchasing it, and you can download and own this forever, or you can have a subscription to CreativeLive, and so you have access to all of the classes, and so the choice is yours. I'm looking at this. We are still chugging along. We haven't quite hit the record for concurrent viewers yet, but you can help us out. Get in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Let us know your questions. If you have an aha moment, put that in there. We want to know what you're thinking. James wants to see these things popping up on screen so he knows that he's actually connecting with people out there in the world and not just staring at a little camera. So that really helps us out. Any of the chat that you are having, it's fantastic. We love hearing your thoughts and comments. Also, if you can give us a thumbs up, a like, if you can boost this or share it to your socials, let people know that we're live. We want to make sure that as many people as possible get the advantage of this class while it's free, and that also allows us to offer that for subscribers or for anybody that wants to buy it in the future. And so without further ado, back to you, James.
I wanted to do one other thing before we move on from the catalog shots, and just to show what I meant of you do not need 4 lights to light a background. So what I did was I turned off 2 of the 4 lights. So we only have 2 lights on the background, 1 on each side, and I lowered them a little bit just so they're about a little more even with our subject. So we're just going to take the same shot. I didn't change the power of the lights or anything. I just turned off 2 of them, and that's almost, we're looking at about a half stop of difference just by turning off 2 of the lights. So I could compensate for that just by turning them up just a little bit, and thus, I've created a very similar effect with 2 lights as opposed to 4 lights. The reason I wanted to show that is I never want you to be in a position where you feel you cannot do something because you do not have enough gear to do it. There are so many ways that you can create the shots you want to create with limited gear. I mean, for 90% of this catalog section, we used a single light and a single light modifier. And at one point we brought in a V-flat or a reflector. You can do a lot with a little, so I want you to keep that in mind. In fact, there's only going to be one set we're going to do from here on out that's going to have a lot of lights. Everything else we're going to have just a few light heads doing all the work for us. So
James, we had a question. So people are participating, which is fantastic. So one of the persons, Straight Jacket Studios, says, I still think her lower body is too dark. Can you work with that a little bit and show people how you can position the light to get, to brighten up that lower body? If we look at this, you can sort of see that. But also, we have people joining from all over the world. I want to make sure we have people from Vermont. We have, Chile, Cayenne, in New Orleans. We've got people chiming in here. It's going to be where I can't keep up with this here in a second. So excited to see CreativeLive again, sharing with my old CreativeLive friends. Yes, it seems like they're back. So we're getting a lot of good stuff. But let's have you zip and see if you can sort of do some of that evening out of the body with your lighting.
This is an excellent question. And we're going to do a little bit of this in the next section, but it would behoove us to show it now as well. Another reason I love CreativeLive. They had a question, and instead of just talking about it in theory, let's just show it. So, if we're worried about the lower part of her body, what I would do is I would set up a second light, so a fill light right below our key light. The reason I'm doing that is I want the light all coming from one direction so it's consistent, okay? So it doesn't feel like I'm just putting up lights in places. This feels like there's a direction, it's very even, and from this, I should be able to light the lower half of her body consistent with the upper half of her body. Let me just make sure both lights are turned on. They are. There we go. And that's how we would light the lower half of the body. To me, that feels a little hot. I'm going to turn it down a stop. There we go. Significantly better. So this is how, and it's such a great question because if we're trying to get even light across the entire shot, well, I could have done 2 things to do this. I could have taken my key light and moved it back further, which would allow the light to spread out more. That would do what I needed to do. The problem is the further back I move this light, the harder or harsher the light is going to be in relation to my subject. And if I want soft light, I want it to be closer to her. Adding a second light or a fill light just right below it just fills in. So I'm able to do this without impacting the quality of light that I had in my key light. So that was a really good question, so thank you so much. All right, we're gonna have an outfit change. You had one that was like green with brown lining on it. Let's do that one next. So from here, what we're gonna be building next is we're gonna be building what I'd call a hero shot, or a shot that you would imagine on, like either it's the cover of the catalog, the main lead-in photo to a catalog, or what you could use for like a magazine cover, okay? And for that, we're gonna use a beauty light. Beauty light is, if I had to pick one light that I would use for the rest of my career, it'd be beauty light, because it is so hard to take a bad photo using beauty light. It is really, really impressive what this can do. So what we're going to do is, let's get rid of these V-flats here. I'll hand that off to you. I'm gonna turn off my background lights because we don't need them for this first shot. All right, hand that off to you. There we go. And we're gonna turn this off. And while our talent is getting changed, I'm happy to answer any other questions that any of our people tuning in would have.
Right now we have people joining. We're still climbing in people that are watching, which is fantastic. That's all
awesome.
About people communicating. And in fact, if this is your very, very first Creative Live, in the chat, type a 1. We want to know who's a newbie. If you're a person that's seen more than one Creative Live, type in 2. I'm really curious who's new and who's returning. We're seeing about half of the people that come into the studio or come into the classes now are brand new to Creative Live. So this is really cool. So we've got people who are recognizing each other. One of my good buddies, Aaron Nace. Aaron is one of my closest friends. So people are chatting about Aaron. Hello, Mark and James. This is Drew. You guys are awesome. Have a question for James. What is your rule of thumb for how high the key light should be placed? So hold on to that. We want to say hi to New Zealand, and holy smokes, we just got so many comments that I can't even keep up. I'm gonna have to scroll. All of a sudden, like poosh, a bunch of stuff came in. So I'm gonna have to see if I can get up there. But yeah, hi to New Zealand. The question is, how high should the key light be placed? So can you give us that information?
How high should the key light be placed? Well, when I think about positioning the key light, I'm trying to think about where I want the main highlight to be on my subject. So if, for example, I have the key light too low, well, one, it's going to get in the way of my camera, but also, let's put this right here. If I have it too high, it might create too many unwanted shadows on our subject. Celeste doesn't really have this. I had a client, we were doing a magazine editorial photo shoot, and she just happened to have very deep set eyes. Because she had very deep set eyes, if I had my key light too high, what it would be doing is it'd be creating a very deep shadow in her eye sockets. And it made her, well, it kind of made it look a little bit more skeletal, which I can't imagine anyone wants that on their magazine cover. So we had to work our key light to be lower, as low as possible, just to fill in the fact that she had such a pronounced brow line and deep set eyes. So it's really just a matter of what is the shot we're doing and what looks best on the subject. So there's no real hard, fast rule. I tend to start with, let's set it at 45 degrees to begin with, and then let's work it to where we want it to be based off the shot we're trying to make. Sometimes we're trying to do something that is a little bit more dramatic, and we want the light coming down at a more directional angle. Sometimes we want the light to be toggled up and thus a little bit more directional. Each one is going to give us something a little different. So what is the shot you're trying to make? And that will help answer the type of direction you want in your shot.
We have a bunch, we have so many comments coming in right now. One of them is it a beauty light or a beauty dish? What is the proper name for that?
That's a really good question. Both and neither. So beauty light, when I say beauty light, it is a specific type of light setup that we're going to be doing that you can use a beauty dish for. You are not required to use a beauty dish for. A beauty dish is a light modifier. So here's a beauty dish that you can shoot that you can shoot this setup with, or you can use a beauty dish for a lot of things. So the difference between a beauty dish and a softbox is going to be, one, a beauty dish tends to be made out of a metal material, but also a beauty dish has inside of it what is, I believe it's called a spill kill. So the light gets housed right in here, and so you do not see the front of the bulb here. So you are eliminating the hot spot in your photo because the light will hit this disc, bounce back into the beauty dish, and then wrap around. So you should get pretty even light throughout the entire beauty dish and no hot spot, whereas in a softbox, you just have 2 levels of diffusion fabric that's spreading the light out, but you're still gonna have a hot spot in your photo. So a beauty dish just translates a little differently on your subject. Now, because the size of the beauty dish tends to be a little bit tighter than a lot of soft boxes, you tend to get a little bit more directional, punchy light. So there's a little bit more specularity in a beauty dish, which I really like for a lot of shots. But for this, what I'm referring to is more of a beauty light. And when I say beauty light, it's more going to be the setup of the light in relation to the subject. So a beauty light begins with, if I did not answer that, and if you had any other clarifying questions about that, please let me know in the chat.
I think you got that one. We have a few more comments. One of them was, Mark, is that you? Yeah, it's me. So I'm back in the United States, for those of you guys who wanted to know. I think the CreativeLive I did last in 2014, I was just about to head out and leave the United States, and now I'm back 12 years later, and it's pretty fun. Some questions about Photo Week. We have a lot of stuff in progress. So Photo Week will probably be coming back in 2027. We're still working on that. And yeah, if you're new here, you will learn so much. That is absolutely for sure. So I just want to remind people, this class is free while we're watching live. We're going to let it play for the next 24 hours. But if you want to see this later, then you need to either be a member of CreativeLive, a subscriber, or you can buy this class. The link is in the description of this video, so you can do that. It helps us create content and it helps to educate you. So please consider doing that if you want to have this class in your library. Okay, back to Mr. James.
All right, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a beauty light or a hero shot for this, and this begins with what is called a butterfly light. A butterfly light is a single light positioned directly in front of your subject, raised up, so we're not coming at 45-degree angles from the side, we're coming in more directly overhead. The light is still pointing at her at a 45-degree angle. Now, this should create an even shadow underneath the subject's chin, jawline, nose, etc. Let me have you cross the right leg in front of the left leg. There we go. Dip this left shoulder for me. There, good, just like that. Let's see how that looks. Very nice. So this is all about symmetrical lighting. We're trying to create really soft skin, but because the light is coming from overhead, we're defining the cheekbones a lot more. All right, so this is very indicative of beauty photography. If we were to think a lot of, like most of my magazine covers, we bring in a lot of this type of butterfly lighting. Now, one of the things I'm doing right now is I felt that the light was just a little hot on her face. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to angle this just a little bit more. There we go. And then, yeah. I'm just going to try to reduce that hot spot just a little bit. Let's see what that did for us. All right, so from here, there we go. That light feels a little bit more even on her. Yep. So I just kind of feathered the light down just a little bit, but that's pretty soft light on her. But because it's symmetrical, because it's even, we're creating really soft skin, but we're also really defining her very nicely. That's why I say, like, this is one of those lights, it's really hard to take an unflattering photo with this light because this light is so incredibly forgiving. It adds a lot of dimension to the shot because you're sending shadows in a direction without being unflattering at all. Like, it is possible if I were to bank the light enough or angle the light enough that it doesn't look as flattering on our subject. So if I were to bring, I said, hey, Celeste, I promise I'm going to take nothing but great shots of you, except for this shot where we're not going to like it. If we were to like go with a really extreme angle right here, so this is basically 90 degrees to the side of her. This is not going to sell her. It's not going to sell this suit. I mean, Celeste doesn't really take bad photos, so I should have been in front of the camera for that one. Having the light overhead is just incredibly forgiving for almost any subject. And one of the nice things we can do with this is, let me just make sure I have this key light dialed in right. Let's see if I like that. Ooh, I love that pose looking down to the side. Beautiful. All right, that feels evenly lit for me. Perfect. Okay, from here, we can control, much like we did with the last set, we can control how much fill light we have. And I'm going to start with just a reflector. Victoria, if we can get that 5-in-1. Thank you so much. So I'm going to use a 5-in-1 reflector as my fill light. And a 5-in-1 reflector is just a circular reflector that will be silver on one side, black on the other. And if you were to open it up, you can have gold or you can have white. I'm going to use silver. And if you're wondering what difference do they all do, well, think about like the V-flat. Like the black side is going to be a negative fill. So it's going to prevent any light from the floor because the floor is white. So there is light bouncing up on her from this white floor. This underneath her is going to prevent that. So we're going to add more shadow that way. This is going to bounce light back up at her, but it's going to be very specular light. I mean, you can see it just bouncing right into the lens of the camera. It's very specular light. But it's also going to be very cool light. Cool in the sense that the temperature is cool. It's more on the bluer side, whereas the gold side is going to bounce up very golden light onto our subject. And the white side is going to bounce up very daylight balanced light onto our subject. I like silver, because why not? All right, we're just going to put that right under her. And let's bring this in just a scotch. There we go, perfect. Dip that left shoulder a little more, perfect. Chin to the right just slightly. You're right this way, there we go, good. Bring the eyes back in here, perfect. Beautiful. And it just bounces just enough light back up onto her. And if we wanted to add more light, we could raise it up. If we wanted to have less light, we could lower it down. So I could bounce more light onto her just by having this reflector up higher, closer to her. So I'm just gonna do, let's bring it right here. I'm just gonna do kind of like a tight cropped beauty shot. All right, come a little bit closer for me. There we go, right about there. All right, so let's bring this in here. Chin back towards me. There we go, good, just like that. There we go. And you can see, I mean, especially under the chin, how much light is bouncing up on her. Just by having a reflector and just choosing how close you want that reflector to be. So here, we're filling in a little bit, raised it up about a foot, and I mean, like an incredible addition of light up under her. Now, if you want to control this even further, you can do this with a light instead of a 5-in-1 reflector, which is what we're going to do next. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to take this little light down here, turn this guy on. All right. We're going to put that right under her. And let's use this, small softbox right here. So what we're doing, this is called, so the first light we had set up was called a butterfly light, which is just the one light overhead at 45 degrees. Adding in a second light underneath is called clamshell. You have one here and one there, like a clamshell. All right. Now, let me bring this in here. Chin up just a bit. There we go, good. Bring your chin this way. Down slightly, actually, right there, perfect. There we go. So, really important note about lights. They don't go off unless they're on. Okay, let's try that again. There we go, good, just like that. Show that out. Let's see. I feel like we can add a little more. Now, when I'm working with a clamshell light, what I need to be extremely careful of is the fill light at the bottom is not powered up more than my key light. And the reason, that looks better. The reason I want to make sure that my fill light is not powered up over my key light is, if we did that, let's do that again. It creates that Frankenstein light where, you know, we're uplighting our subject, and that doesn't feel natural. This is supposed to be our fill light, so we're just going to take that back down. So I can control the power of it and how it impacts our subject, just toggling it up or down accordingly. Yeah, I really like that. Now I'm going to lower this even more, so I'm just going to take this off the stand and just lay it on the ground, which is honestly what I tend to do, just because it gives me the biggest window to shoot through. There we go, right about there. Okay. So now I don't have to worry about it getting in the way of my shots. All right, come about a half step closer for me. Right about there. There we go. Good, just like that. Perfect. Beautiful. Love it. And I think we have a little bit more latitude to raise this fill light a little more in power. There it is. Perfect. All right, turn back towards me. There we go. Good. Let's have both hands on the hips, but fingertips down, just like that. Bring some hair onto both sides. There we go, just like that. Beautiful. Love it. Chin down just a bit for me. Good, just like that. Bring your chin this way. There, good. Eyes back here. Perfect. Give me a little bit of a smile. Beautiful. Love that. Perfect. Let's try one moving. So we're going to try a walking shot. What I want you to do is, all you're going to be doing is taking one foot in front of the other, as if you're on, like, you just like, almost like crossing your legs. And as you do that, you just sway your arms, just like that. So let's see it. That's it. That's all I need you to do. Except it's just going to be one step. Okay. So start a little closer. So let's do it with the right leg coming forward. So the right leg comes forward, the left arm comes forward, just like that. There, good. And you're going to do that kind of like 1,000 times. Perfect. Let's just see what that looks like. All right. And on your mark. Good. Beautiful. Do that again. Bigger smile into the camera. There you go. Perfect. Good. Just like that. Again. Good. Just like that. Beautiful. What I want you to do is I want you to, when we think about like your arms swaying, think about like you're just bending the elbows. That's all you're doing, is just bending that left elbow in front. Let's see what that looks like. And go. Good. Keep the eyes in camera, big smile. There you go, perfect. Yes, love that. Again. There you go, beautiful, love that. So what we're trying to do is we're just trying to add motion to the shot. And a walking shot is just a really nice way just to add a little bit, even just the most subtle movement to a shot that creates a completely different energy in it. Now, in that example, we had her coming towards the camera, but we can have her moving more at an angle. So I'm going to have you turn this way right here, just like that. Now, your step, when I tend to have people walking from an angle or a side, one thing I typically don't do is I don't have them step with the back foot. So if I were to have your left leg come forward, that means what? Your right arm comes forward, right? Yeah. Yeah. And now you're closed off to the camera. And are we still in the suit if we're hiding the suit? No. But if I have your left leg come forward, or sorry, your right leg come forward, just like that, so bring your front leg forward, and now your back arm comes forward, just like this, like because we walk like here, just like that. We've opened her up. The suit is now visible on camera. All right, so I'm just going to have you do almost the same thing, except you're doing it at an angle, but you're going to look in camera for this one with a big smile. And go. There you go. Beautiful. Again. There. On this next one, hey, your friends are over your right shoulder, and they're just like, what's up, Celeste? How's it going? So let's look over there. Big smile. Hey, how's it going, guys? There. Perfect. Love it. Absolutely love that shot. That to me would be like very, very indicative of the energy I would want for like a hero shot in it, where it feels a little bit more editorial without being too overly posed. It feels a little bit more fluid, it feels a little bit more natural. Now we can push this further when we're thinking about movement, and we could just add a fan into the shots. This is, I mean, don't laugh. This is like the $10 fan from Target that I'm just going to use a $2 pony clamp on a light stand. I once bought the fans that they make for photographers and like drummers that have like, they have a bendable neck and there's like a clamp attached to it. It was like $200 because it was for photographers, and we broke it the first day. So I went and I bought this for $10, and I've had it for 10 years. Okay, so let me have you come a little bit closer right there. There we go, perfect. And let's turn you this way here. There we go. Bend that right knee for me. Open the shoulders up like this, just like that. Beautiful. So just adding a little fan in the shot can create a little bit of movement in the hair, just like that. There we go. All right, let me just tighten that clamp a little bit more. Yep, right about there. Perfect. And just having, so bring your face this way right here, eyes right here. There we go. Just having that little bit of lift, bring that right hand to the hip for me. Just having that little bit of lift under the hair really changes what the shot would look like. Victoria, on the gray background, I have a silver clamp. Yeah, there we go. We need the $2 pony clamp, not the $1 one. There we go. Now that ain't moving. All right. Little movement. Beautiful. Look off this way right here. Perfect. Bring your chin back towards me. There we go. Good. Love it. It's just enough just to give us just a little bit of lift. Come a little bit closer. There we go. And even just that little bit of lift really changes what the shots feel like. Love it. Stunning. Ooh, there was a shot I really liked in there. Perfect. Now, we could push this further. What we're going to do next is I just want to create a little more definition in our subject. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add 2 lights to the back side of her. And while I'm doing that, if there are any questions about any of this, I'm happy to dive into those.
Right now, we don't have any questions, but what we do have are a lot of comments about CreativeLive coming back.
Good.
One of them is, where is CreativeLive now? It used to be in Seattle. It was in Seattle. There were studios in Seattle. Those don't exist anymore. Now CreativeLive comes to you from all over the world. We have instructors. We have Humberto Abed in Mexico City. We've got instructors down in Miami. We've got people from New York City. We've got people up in Seattle and Chicago and LA. Right now, we are in Phoenix, Arizona in the Hive Studios. James owns the Hive Studios. And so if you see me doing a class, or Jared Platt, or Chris Berry, or James Patrick, we're all local. So we're here in the Hive Studios. This is sort of our home base in the southwest of the United States, but we've got people from all over the world. And so, yeah, there is the location now is in New York City. That's where the headquarters is. But we've got people working with CreativeLive all over the United States and even in the Philippines. And so we've got people all over the world helping to support CreativeLive. It's really, really cool. This is a beautiful suit, by the way. Green is such an underrated color in fashion. I couldn't agree more. So everybody loves your suit. Yeah, love that. And then we've got a lot of people that are here for the second, third, fourth, fifth time. We also have a lot of new people here. So yeah, a lot of people are just absolutely loving your suit. But other than that, I think we are caught up. I just want to remind people that you can watch this class free while we are live, and then we're going to let it play for an additional about 24 hours so people around the world can see this. And then what we are going to be doing is, if you want to own this class, use the link in the description of this video to buy this class, or you can become an annual subscriber to CreativeLive, and then you have access to all of the different classes. And so we highly recommend that you do that if you want to support this. It's a community. It helps us to create more classes in the future. And so thank you to all of those people that have been around. We have, I want to remind you, we want to hear your comments. We want to hear your aha moments. We want you to share with people that we are live. We've got a few more setups. In fact, I think we have 3 more, James, I'm not sure. A lot more coming. And so share, like, subscribe, let people know so the algorithm can share this with new people so they can also enjoy this class. Okay, back to you, Mr. James.
I have to say I am offended that I've had no compliments on this wardrobe choice I've had. This is A-tier photographer wardrobe is what this is. All right, so what we've done is very unevenly, let me fix that, set up 2 lights behind our subject, each at 45 degrees. And I want them to be even. So Celeste, I'm just gonna have you take 1 step over this way, 1 step back for me. There you go, right about there, should be good. All right. That would have driven my sense of order a little chaotic. Okay. So these lights behind are about a full stop under our key light. But let's just see what it looks like here. All right. Have the hands on the hips for me. Let's just see how this pops right here. Let's see. Not enough. Let's give it a little more. All right. There we go. Okay. So what we're doing with these edge lights is we're creating a highlight along the edge of her body. This is just another thing we're doing to try to separate her or bring her off the background. So we can accentuate this a little bit more. Let me turn your body to the left. There we go. Right about here. And let's bring this one in. Right about here. There we go.
So we do have a question. So Aluminum Fence said, wouldn't you want a grid to feather those 1x3s, those kicker lights? Michelle is saying, I love it. We've got people from around the world. So Martinique, French Island. So yeah, we've got people from everywhere. But yeah, the question is about those kickers.
Yep.
Shouldn't you add grids?
I could certainly add grids to them. What a grid would do, because this is a really good question, is a grid would prevent the light from spilling out. I'm actually okay with the light spreading out in these shots, and the reason I'm okay with the light spreading out a bit on these is simply because I'm shooting something that is inherently a little softer, a little more high key. I'm okay with light spreading out. Now, if I didn't want light spreading out, then yeah, I would throw a grid on these lights and very intentionally only be lighting where the light is pointing at. But if this light spreads out and it wraps around her body a little bit more, I'm actually okay with that in a high key light setup. So that's why I actually don't have grids on those. All right, so bending that front leg for me. There we go, good. Beautiful, just like that. This left hand in the neckline, just like that. There we go. Straighten the face for me right here. Perfect, beautiful. Love it. So you can see how that light wraps around her hip, it wraps around her shoulder. You can see it lighting her abs and her core and her rib cage. It is just creating that edge of highlight around her entire body. Now, if I had a grid on these, we would be losing some of the light that's spreading out on her lower body simply because they're just smaller. You know, like I have some of these that are, I think they're like 5 feet tall. Those I could grid and still light the whole body. These, if I gridded them, we'd only be lighting, where they are right now, we'd only pretty much be lighting her shoulders to her hips. All right, so let's bring that stance back in here. There we go. Just like that. Perfect. Beautiful. Mouth is open slightly. Good. Beautiful. Love that. Right there. Stunning shot. Now, just to kind of put a bow on this whole thing, I'm just going to turn these background lights back on. So this is the only shot we're going to do today that I'm using a lot of lights. So we have, just so we know, we have 4 lights on the background. We have 2 lights as rim lights, or edge lights, or hair lights coming in from 45 degrees. We have our key light overhead, and we have a fill light underneath. I was once doing this shot on location. We just had a mobile studio set up, and someone saw me shooting this, and we were showing the client the photos, and the client was very happy with them. And someone else said, well, it must be hard to take a bad photo with 8 lights. And I responded, it's very easy to take I would say it's easier to take a bad photo with 8 lights than it is with 1. Because if these lights are not doing what I want them to be doing, we could ruin this image. If those backdrop lights are up too high, I could ruin the image. If my rim lights are overpowering my key lights, I'm not getting what I want. If my fill light is overpowering my key light, I'm getting that underlit Frankenstein light. Each light is doing something very specific, and hopefully if we have them all dialed in, well, we can make a nice picture. All right. There we go. Kind of like that statement, oh, it must be hard to take a bad, or, you know, must be nice to have such a good camera to take such good photos. It's like, yeah, if you don't know what you're doing with it, it's still going to be a struggle. All right, turn towards me. I really like this. Cross the legs. There we go. Both hands on the hips, fingers down. Yeah, let's do just like that. Bring the chin down towards me. Beautiful, just like that. Perfect, good. Leave the right arm on this side. Left hand is like right here into the hair. Chin comes down just a bit. Beautiful, love it. Love that. Instead of the hand like in the hair, have the hand on the outside of the hair. Right, no, what you did was perfect. Yes, there. Eyes in here. Beautiful. Soft lips, jaws open. There, perfect, good. Beautiful. Chin comes this way, right here. Love it. Just be careful not to push the hair too much into the chin. Yep, there you go. Perfect. So, one thing I'll mention as I'm looking at this shot is your strap on this side here, is it twisted? Or is it designed to be that way? I'm not sure. That's why I was asking. It looks like it could just be how it's stitched together. The reason I'm asking is it's one of the things, particularly when we're shooting for catalog work, that I need to be really careful of. Yep. That I need to be really careful of when we're shooting is if there is a fabric twisted, particularly like one of the biggest, criminals in this is going to be the straps on the top, as it goes behind the shoulder. That is one of those things where that is going to take me so long in post-production to edit on all the shots that are going to end up in that catalog to fix that, right? Another thing is there's no ties behind the neck on this one, right? Like this is like more in the back. But the ones that have the ties behind the neck, when those ties come forward onto the neck from behind the shoulder, that's another thing that just doesn't look good in a lot of catalog shoots. So it's one of those things, just a little thing, when shooting catalog work is, make sure the suit is sitting well on your subject. And it is really helpful to have either whether you're working with the client or whether you have an assistant on set who can help keep those eyes out for you. Because as a photographer, like this whole time I've been focused on what's my key light doing and my fill light and what are my settings on the camera and posing the model, that I could forget to look at, does the suit look right on the subject? So having extra sets of eyes really helps. And this is another thing that I'll bring up is, when I'm shooting catalog work, I will more often than not try to make sure my assistant is female, or that we have like a female makeup artist on set, or we have a female stylist on set, because they would be much more comfortable going up and being able to to adjust wardrobe, or I think Victoria's helping you with the top on this one. That's not something I would ever want to be in a position to be doing. I feel like that it would disrupt the comfort level of the shoot, because shooting swimwear is very vulnerable. Like, we're not covering up a lot of the body. Like, this is a very revealing type of wardrobe. We need to ensure that our clients feel extraordinarily comfortable on set. And a lot of that comes with the energy and the people that you have on set to ensure that they feel comfortable in all the shots we're doing. All right, I'm gonna have you change again. You have a black suit, right? Yes, we're gonna do the black suit next. And while she's changing, I'm happy to jump in and answer any questions that people might have before we go into our next set.
All right, right now we are caught up, it looks like, on our questions. I am refreshing just to make sure I haven't missed any. Oh, yeah, here's one. So how high should the camera be relative to the model? So I know that you talked about that a little bit earlier, but I think it might be a good refresher to just remind people that just joined us. How do you position your camera according to the model's height? Can you get us some of that info? I'm bantering because James needs some water. There he is. Okay, he's back.
I lost my voice. So what I'm doing is, relative to the model, my camera is almost always going to be below eye line. So, I mean, you can see it just next to me. Celeste and I are almost identical in height. She's 5'11". I like to pretend I'm 5'11". So the camera's about a foot below eye line. And the reason I like the camera below eye line is because I feel like it gives the model a little more presence on camera. It helps them feel a little bit more elevated. I feel it's a lot more flattering of an angle. Whereas when I'm shooting, you know, even just shooting directly straight on, is one of those things, like, I remember, like, early photography, it's like, you know, shooting what you see with your eyes could be a little bit more boring, simply because, well, it's what we see every day, but just changing the angle just a little bit in one direction or another can completely shift how we're interpreting an image. So that's just another way to look at it, but I just feel like having the lens slightly below eye line and just tilted up at like 5 degrees, it's just a lot more flattering. It just gives a lot more commanding presence to the subject, which I really like. And it's almost like, I was mentioning this earlier, I would almost never want to be shooting down on a subject, at least down at like a 5 or 10 degree angle. It shortens them, it compresses their height, it minimizes them, I think, in an unflattering way. Whereas if I'm like super low shooting up, particularly if I'm at a wide angle lens, that's really distorting now. And now the legs are really elongated. And if that's not something I want to be doing, or if that's not the point of the shot, I need to be really careful with that. So slightly below eye level, I think, is a really flattering thing. And if you weren't here earlier, one of the things I mentioned is almost all the shots we are doing, I'm shooting with a telephoto lens. I've shot almost every shot at around 100 to 105 millimeters. And the reason I'm shooting telephoto is I like how a telephoto lens compresses the frame, pushes the background away, and I feel it's a lot more flattering on the subject, especially with catalog work where I want it to look really flattering, especially with, you know, if I'm shooting hero images or portrait work. It just doesn't distort the body like a wide angle lens would, particularly if I'm with a wide angle lens getting up close and then tilting the camera up at an angle or down at an angle. That's going to stretch those edges of the photo, which I don't want. I want this to feel like it looks and represents our subject really well in those photos. So really great question.
Fantastic. Sorry to cut you off there.
Nope.
One of the things that we've seen in the comments is that Celeste is beautiful. A lot of comments about her outfit, that kind of stuff. And so I'm curious if you could give us an update of what we're about to see. But before you do that, James, we've got a lot of people in here that have been talking about the value of having these CreativeLive classes. In fact, Michelle here says that she has over 300 classes. And the beauty of that is you can go back and watch those and see them. You have your own library. It's like having that Apple movie library, whatever you would refer that to. But that's exactly why we have these two options. You can purchase and own this forever, have it on your computer at home, and you can go back to that, review things in the studio, pause, rewind. Or if you're a subscriber, you have access to the entire catalog, and then you can jump back and forth between different things. And so if you want to see more classes like this, if you want to help grow our community, then definitely click the link in the description of this video, and then you can see all of those different options. Also, some people talk about Aaron Nace from Flern. Aaron's a very, very good friend of mine. I was just talking to him yesterday about the possibility of coming back to CreativeLive. I think that is a strong possibility. I can't speak for him, but there are a lot of people that are past and future CreativeLive instructors. All right, so one person said, hey, he covered it earlier on, but about 1 foot below the model's eye level. Absolutely, that's right. And then Wolfpack is saying, can you share what ball head you are using, what tripod ball head you are using? So can you show us that?
Yeah. Let's see, which camera do we got? This is a Manfrotto. I can't read that. MHX Pro 3W. So it's a 3-tilt head is what I'm using. And I don't even have this on a Manfrotto tripod. This is like an old slick tripod that I've had for 20 years.
Is there a reason that you prefer, like for me personally, I don't like those tripods in the studio. I like a ball head, but is there a reason that you choose the 3-way over the ball head?
Oh yeah, no, a ball head for me, oftentimes I'm shooting with a really heavy lens, and I've burnt out a ball head so many times, like trying to tighten it and then just having my camera just, it just loses its tension and just starts to droop on me. So I've just found that the 3-way tilt just locks in a lot tighter for me, particularly if I'm using like a longer lens. That's why. There's no wrong answer. You just use what you like, and I just haven't found a ball head that I liked, and I know how to use this, so it's just what I use.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm going to let you borrow my ball head, and we'll compare. Maybe we'll do a comparison video. The cool thing about CreativeLive is the classes that we plan and create, most of those come from your questions and suggestions. And so if you have something that you'd like James to create, James Patrick does fitness and beauty and magazine covers and all kinds of stuff. I can't spoil the fun and tell you what's coming from James in the future, but I can tell you it's pretty darn cool. Also on CreativeLive, you can search for James' previous classes. There are some really, really fun ones. And again, if you're a CreativeLive subscriber, you get access to that, or you can buy each of these classes individually. So I think Celeste is back, James is ready, so let's get back into it right now.
All right, well, it's funny you mentioned athletic and fitness. Most of my career has been in the health and wellness industry, shooting for fitness magazines. So what we're going to actually be doing is we're going to be shooting this with more of a, I'm going to say a fitness approach. So when I'm shooting fitness versus when I'm shooting, like we've shot, everything I would say we've shot thus far has been catalog or e-commerce. It's stuff that we are trying to sell the suit, and the suit is the hero of the shot. In this, we're kind of changing the priority. This is more about Celeste. And this is about focusing on definition, shape, more texture. But we also need to be very careful that these photos are still very flattering for her, both with how the light is being represented on her, but then also how we're posing her as well is going to play in a lot of this. So when I think fitness, one of the first things I'm thinking is we need more shadow. And the reason we need more shadow is when we're shooting with lots and lots and lots of light, well, what does light do? It erases shadow. So if we were to go back to, oh, where were we? Somewhere in here, I think it was before the walking shots. Yep, right here. We're using, I think this is where I have the key light here and a fill light below. We're erasing all the hard work. Well, a lot of the hard work that Celeste does in the gym, simply because with more light, definitely when we had the two lights at 45 degrees, on her somewhere earlier in this. Where was it? I think this looks like it. Yep. No. Well, one of these. We had 2 lights on her, each at 45 degrees. Is it this one? Yep, this one. We are erasing a lot of definition, a lot of shadow. Now, Celeste has a lot of muscle to work with, so she still looks great, but we want to emphasize shadow a lot more when it comes to fitness without compromising the quality of light on our subject. So what we're gonna do is, let me have you come a half step closer right here. Let me turn you this way here. Take the hair off that front shoulder. I still like it on that back shoulder. Let's bend that front knee for me, that right knee, perfect. Have the right hand on the hip for me, just like that, perfect. Okay, so here's a suit where I can actually see where the strap is turned. In fact, once you moved, it just turned right back. Yep, there we go. We'll just straighten that out right there. Okay, there we go. Turn your hips this way, turn your shoulders back towards me. So what I'm trying to do, and if you notice in a lot of these poses, I'm putting Celeste the weight on her back foot. Now, if we were to just shift that and I were to say, put all the weight on your front leg, all of a sudden, she's like leaning towards the camera a little bit more. It's emphasizing her shoulders a little bit more. Now let's shift it. Back leg. All of a sudden, the shoulders come back, the torso elongates, the leg looks a lot leaner, the waist kind of carves in a little bit more. I like that a lot, right there. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna have you do is the hair that's on this shoulder right here, let's just scoop it together. I still like it on the shoulder, I just don't want it covering up, yep, the head of your arm, just like that, good. Okay, and bring your chin this way just slightly. Let me just see what this looks like right here. We're just going to do a baseline test. All right. So I have 2 lights on for this one. Our key light is at 45 degrees, pointing down at her, and I have a little kicker light back here on just a little bit, just to add a little bit of highlight to that left side of her. And you'll notice, like, look at how much more definition there is in her core, in her arms. Angles matter a lot when it comes to shooting fitness. At making sure you're retaining shadow, I think, is really important in this. All right, and right in here. Beautiful. Chin up just a bit. There. Bring your chin over this way right here. A little bit more to the left. There we go. Good. Love that. Bring this hand here right in front, just like this. There we go. Love it. Pop that right arm out just a little bit more. Once again, I'm working with triangles here. And we're also working with a lot of leading lines in this. We're trying to guide the eye through the photo from, her legs leading into her core, her arm leading into her upper body, this arm kind of guiding the eye through. All of it is trying to create balance in the shot. And I like filling the frame as much as possible. Now, if I were to do almost the same shot, so let's go into that. Let's try to mimic that same thing. So from there, just drop this arm and just let it hang on your side, right there. Okay. See, Celeste just doesn't really do bad photos. Let's bring the arm in front just a little bit. Let me try to make this a little worse. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so once again, like we were talking about this earlier, when her arm is like right onto her hip, it's elongating the perception of the size of her hips and the size of her waist, which she has a really tight waist, and we are eliminating that if we're not giving some space in between that. So let's go to that, almost that same thing, but just bring the arm out just a little bit. Yep. Just let it sit right here. There, good, just like that. Look off to the right. Oh, love it. Right there. What we've done, also notice how we're pushing her hips to one side, twisting her torso. That's what's creating this elongation in her core, helping to like really carve out the abs, really define the edges of her waistline, and just popping that hip out and creating that little bit of window right here creates all the difference. Like her hips are almost the same between these two photos, but just moving that arm back and creating that window right there really pops out her core that much more. So I really like that. Now we can push this further. Someone had asked earlier about gridding lights. I think it would behoove us to actually grid this key light and show what that looks like. So we talked about how you could feather a softbox, meaning you could point the softbox away from your subject and still illuminate your subject because the light's bouncing all around inside that softbox, and you're going to get light bouncing on the outsides of where that softbox is pointing. A grid is going to eliminate that. You can't really feather with a grid, at least not much, because the grid is just sending all the light in one direction. It's still soft light because it's going through a softbox. However, we're not allowing the light to spread out. We're sending it in one direction. So what you're going to notice is, even though the light is going to be the same level of softness, it's going to be significantly more contrasted than the previous shot. And it's going to feel much darker. In fact, I'm going to turn off this kicker light just so we're not having any interference. You can see exactly what this key light is doing. Now, when I'm working with a key light, especially a key light that's gridded, where my subject's face is really, really matters. My key light is 45 degrees to her left, camera right. If she turns her face to her right, camera left, that is not going to look good. Almost her entire face is going to fall too much into shadow. If, however, I turn her face this way, like this, I like that. Let's bring that right hand up here, just like that. Bring the left elbow out here. Yep, I like it behind the hip and up there, beautiful, just like that. What we've done is we've turned her face towards the key light. We are being very intentional. It is so important to realize I have not changed the power of the light at all between this shot and this shot. The light power is exactly the same. My f-stop is all my camera settings have not changed one bit. But just gridding that softbox prevented light from spilling out so much that we are creating the highlight on her face. Look how dark the background gets. That's because we've eliminated any light from hitting that background, or most of the light from hitting the background. You can see how it's brighter right here. Well, that's because that's where the softbox is pointing. But how dark it falls up here, that's all the grid. The light is the same level of softness, but we've really amplified the contrast in our light. So from here, I actually really like this light. I'm a huge proponent of hard light can actually be very flattering. I think it is a misnomer that soft light is always better light. Soft light is just softer light. And hard light doesn't have to be bad. It's just the quality of the light as it hits your subject. I think hard light can be very flattering. I think soft light can be very flattering. It's just about what is the thing you're trying to communicate in your shots. So we've turned our rim light back on. I want to create a very similar pose with that hand up here. There we go, just like that. Chin down a little bit for me. There we go, just like that. But we've turned on that rim light right there, and we are just separating her from the background. We're creating that really nice highlight along the side of her body. That looks really nice. I'm really happy with how that pops out.
James, we do have a question, and this is, Is there a reason why you're not shooting into Lightroom or Capture One or Evoto and doing tethered shooting as opposed to just going into Bridge?
I'm in Evoto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But to add more context to that, I very, very rarely shoot tethered. Actually, I like to shoot very quickly, and I like to move very fast through my photo shoots. And I've always felt like when I shoot tethered, I shoot too slow. It's a personal preference for me. So I very rarely shoot tethered. But when I do shoot tethered, I've actually really enjoyed shooting on Evoto. Simply, one, I feel it works a lot better than just the Canon native tethering software. And I just like the functionality of it a little bit more. So I've actually just started to play with it just in the last 6 months, shooting tethered to Evoto. But
the follow-up question to that is, are you using any presets or color settings that automatically are applied, skin retouching, things like that, when you bring in your tethered images?
No, and the reason I'm not is I made the mistake when I first did a tethered shoot with Evoto. Was we were doing a big headshot day. We had 150 headshots to shoot in 5 hours, and the first person we had a little bit of time after we shot the first person. Then after that was complete bedlam. After the first person, I was like, oh, let me show you what these shots will look like. And she liked them. She's like, oh, as so many people say, make me look 10 years younger. And I was like, oh, this software, one, you don't need it, but this software is great. Anything you need, we can do. And I just made a few quick adjustments on it, not knowing that it was going to then apply that to every shot thereafter. So we then had 149 people, just one after another, after another, after another. The backlog and the processing, as it not only was trying to import the photos, but then apply all these edits to then every shot thereafter was a little too much. So no, nothing's been applied to this. I tend to not like to do any post-production until after the shoot's done, and I can sit down and cull through the images and then really intentionally pick out which images I feel are representative of the project that we're working on. But
Fantastic.
Really great question.
We also had just a comment from the Keller Gallery. I'm going to say that wrong. I'd love to see a location and environmental portrait class, a location class instead of studio work. We absolutely have that on CreativeLive. I know I have shooting on location with speedlights and with studio strobes as part of my classes. I've taught 2 of those. I think Lindsay Adler has one. I think Vanessa Joy has one. There are a bunch. So if you hop on the CreativeLive site and just look for location, you're probably going to find, 20 or 30 of those. So definitely, that's one of the advantages of being a subscriber to CreativeLive. You get that entire catalog. We have some that are coming up this year. Here in Arizona, it's crazy hot. So we're waiting until November, December when it gets down to the normal 80s. But we have some people in Seattle and the Northeast and around. Yeah, so there are definitely location classes and some new live stuff coming up. So just so you know, we absolutely hear you. If you have a question for James Patrick is an expert. Please leave those in the chat. If you have an aha moment, leave that in the chat. I want to remind you, this is free for the next 24 hours. You can watch this, you can do the rewatch, but in about 24 hours, this class goes away and it's only available on CreativeLive. If you want to purchase this class or become a subscriber, click the link in the description of this video, and then you can see all of your options there. It helps us to support the community. Come out to Southern California and let's do classes. Absolutely. I want to do the Salton Sea location shoot. I think you're down there in the Salton Sea, if I'm correct. I think so. We are working right now to do some classes with photography clubs. And so we are gathering information. If you are a photo club and you want to be a part of CreativeLive, the Shoot Along show, which is still on YouTube, the whole reason for that show is to do challenges that photo clubs can play along with. And so we had to work out some of the technical issues, but we're going to be able to bring in people from all over the world to join us and do some photo challenges and some really fun stuff. So if you are a member of a photo club, in the comment, let us know what your photo club is. Send us a DM on Instagram. We want to know who's out there. And your photo club could be 2 people that meet up every Friday to go and take a shot and shoot flowers. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be hundreds of people. A photography club is 2 or more people who get together to learn about photography. We want to support you and bring live stuff to you for free. And so the people that purchase this class help us fund all the free stuff that helps us build the community. We're bringing back photo walks, we're bringing back shootouts, we're bringing back all kinds of meetups and things. And so if you're not subscribed to this channel, do that, because we want to build a community of photographers that's here to help each other out, to lift each other up, and not be competitive, bickering, or haters. This is for us to help each other grow as artists. Okay, I'm looking, it looks like we're caught up on all of our stuff. And so, James Patrick, back to you.
All right, and I'll echo what Mark said. Photography is expensive. Anytime you can get stuff for free, it is awesome. I loved the shoot along show, so I cannot wait for that to come back. All right, so we're just gonna do one more variation on this. I'm just gonna turn on that second rim light. And then I'm just going to bring our key light back into that butterfly set. So directly in front of her. There we go. Right about there. All right. Now from here, let's see. Let's have both arms kind of coming up like this. I like that hip kicking out to this left side here. There we go. Good. Just like that. Beautiful. Bring the eyes right in camera, right here. Oh, love it. Have the fingertips pointing down. Yes, there. Good. Just like that. Bring the chin over again. Beautiful. Up for me. Good. Right there. Love it. So what we've done is we've just added that rim light to the right side of the photo just to create an even balance. This is a very standard 3-point lighting setup. This is similar to a lot of the work I would do with professional athletes. It's very indicative of when we shoot for fitness magazines. This 3-point lighting, that butterfly light creates very symmetrical light down the center of her body, which it's very flattering, it can be very soft, but also we're not skimping on the definition in the photos, which I think is what sells fitness, is definition and texture and shape. So from there, it's really then just about how we're posing her to really try to get as much striations in the muscles and really try to get everything to pop as nicely as we can. And then those 2 rim lights on either side are just, 1, separating her from the background more, but 2, it's just creating more highlight and more definition in the overall photo. So we're now going to move into even harder light, but we're going to have Celeste do a change. You had a red suit, and then you had that denim jacket. Let's go with that. Red suit and denim jacket. We're gonna play with some really hard light in this next set. But as I'm doing a light change, happy to answer any more questions that people would have on any of the stuff we've talked about, from e-commerce, catalog, working with very high key light, bright lights, working in more of a low key fitness type light setup.
I have a question for you, James. So, yep. By the way, we do have a photo club. So we have the Coachella Valley Photography Club. By the way, I follow you guys on Instagram. Fantastic. I'm a fan. That's why I mentioned the Salton Sea. I know what that is. So we have a question from Wolfpack San Diego. And Wolfpack says, do you ever use glycerin, so gel? Do you ever use gels or some sort of lotion? Oh, glycerin, no, on the body. Or some sort of lotion to add some glimmer to the model's skin, olive oil, a little like spritz. How do you get that shiny look on your model?
Yep. So this is 1 part glycerin, 2 parts water. And you could just buy glycerin on Amazon. And if you've never worked with glycerin before, it's a clear liquid that just has a thicker consistency than water, but it mixes really nicely with water, and you can just put it in a little spray bottle, and it beads up really nicely on the skin. And because it is a thicker consistency, it feels almost a little bit oily on the skin. So yeah, we will absolutely use glycerin in shots if we want that wet, beaded look in our photos. And it's not expensive to get. In regards to lotion on the subject, the one thing I'll say is oil on a body is extremely reflective. And you have to be very careful if you're putting oil on the body, like whether it's like a tanning oil or like an olive oil, it can reflect a lot of light. And if it reflects too much light, it can actually be almost pure white in your shots, like meaning you're overexposing versus like where you want your exposure to be. So I find if you use oil, a little bit goes a significantly long way. I think lotion works a little bit better. Or the makeup artists we often work with, will have like a body shimmer that they'll apply to the model that looks matte on the skin, but until light hits it, then it will become reflective and help give that sheen a little bit. So there's a handful of different ways you can say. The one thing I will say is like oil particularly is so wildly reflective, so just be careful with that. Also, I've heard, olive oil like burns in the sunlight. If you're shooting in sun, we're not shooting in sun here, but something you'd want to be careful with.
Yeah, definitely in Arizona you have to be careful of what kind of oil you put on skin. We do have some people asking about the location shoots. Somebody's talking about Lindsay Adler. So yeah, Lindsay does have a location class here. But if you're in the chat and you know about some of these classes people are asking about, let us know. Also, who are your favorite CreativeLive instructors? Aaron Nace has been mentioned. Lindsay Adler's been mentioned. Jared Platt's been mentioned. Kirsten Lutz. I think somebody was talking about Kirsten a little bit earlier. But if you have some favorite classes or some things, let us know. We are going to be doing some rewatches, by the way, here on YouTube. So if you think, hey, I saw this a few years ago, everybody should see this, in the comments, let us know what class that was. And if we get enough people that are requesting it, we might just bring it back and do a free weekend rewatch for those classes. So let us know in the comments what you're thinking. We absolutely love it. We're caught up on questions. Again, if you have an aha moment, let us know. If you like something, if you have a question, stick that in the chat. Also, thumbs up, like, share. We want as many people to see this live class and the replay as possible. All right, James Patrick.
All right, so with this next one, we're going to be using all hard light. We're going to be leaning into this. Soft light isn't always better light, and you can make really flattering photos with hard light. So this next shot, we're only going to use one light, and we're going to be using a 7-inch reflector. They come with your lights almost all the time, and this is all we're going to be using. And it's a very directional, very punchy. Think of it like a beauty dish minus the softness that a beauty dish will give you. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Celeste get close to the background. So we're going to step back, one more step closer to the background, another step. Yeah, right there. Okay, so I'm just going to have this right above, maybe about a foot higher than eye level. Still overhead for her, so it's going to, because we've brought her close to the background, this is actually going to cast a shadow on the background behind her. I want that shadow. I think it's going to add an extra character to this shot. Okay, so, love the jacket, by the way. I really like this. All right, let's pull the jacket open, have the hands on the hips for me. Yep, right there, there we go, good. In fact, from there, actually, I love this, right here. We're just going to do this as our baseline shot. Let's just see what this pops like. I mean, I would take that shot all day long. Absolutely love it. I just looking at it, the only thing, all right, I've been meaning to try more hard light, though thought I usually use my softboxes in pretty hard ways. Yep, yeah, I mean, you can make hard light with the softbox, just smaller softbox and or move it further away, and I'll give you hard light. This is a very, like, once again, the quality of light is going to shift based off the size of your light source in relation to your subject. This is a very small light source that is far away from our subject. So not only is this going to be a hard light almost within any distance of her, but the fact it's far away from her makes it even harder. And once again, like how to see hard light, look at the edge of the shadow. It's almost a perfectly solid line. That is what is indicative of hard light. Hard light, there's really not much transition between a highlight and a shadow. It's very, very defined. That's what I would like attribute hard light to. So I really like how this looks. Let's keep the right hand on the hip. Let's bring the left hand up here. Yep, there we go. Beautiful. Chin down just a bit for me. I want you looking all the way this way. Chin down a little bit more. There, good. Love that. Looking at these shots, I shoot everything on Kelvin because I like to adjust my color temperature on the fly based off what I am seeing. To me, in my eyes, this looks too cold, a little too blue, and that could just be because I'm using the light could just be a cooler light, the blue jacket could be throwing it off a little bit, the white wall could be changing it. I'm just gonna warm up my Kelvin. I was at 5,200, now I'm gonna go to 5,600. Let me just see what that does for me. Yeah, I like that better. Yeah, that feels, to me, that represents her skin tone more accurately. So I like to be on Kelvin whenever I'm shooting, so if I see the light is doing something that I feel is not properly representing, I can just adjust on the fly. I could shoot with the gray card and lock it in perfectly. I tend to usually like shots to be a little warmer or a little colder, just depending on what I want the shot to feel like. So I tend to just adjust it to what I feel looks nice. For this, you know, this to me screams like Pepsi ad campaign from the 1990s, you know, with Cindy and, you know, the sunset, you know, the shooting in the golden hour. Like, that's what, like, this screams Americana to me. So to me, that feels warmer as a shot than a colder shot. So that's why I just want a little bit warmer. All right, let's go right here. Let's have both hands on the hips for me. There we go, good, just like that. I love the open stance, beautiful. Love it. Love that. We just have a little bit of hair coming into the neckline. There we go, you got it. Perfect, good. Stunning. And we can work with the shadow in this. I think the shadow is an integral part of this light, and I'll call this just like a drop light, like drop shadow lighting. Like we're shooting the light straight at our subject. We're using the shadow as a way, one, to create another layer to the photo, two, to show the distance between her and the background, three, to separate her from the background a little bit because it's framing her a little bit. But we can accentuate this simply by where the light is in relation to her. So if I want to send the shadow in one direction, I can move the light over. Let me just come off here. All right, so for this shot, turn your body this way a little bit more. I like that step forward with that back leg. There, good. And let's go big open, like you're up here. Yes, there, just like that, perfect. Let's just pop this. There we go, beautiful. Let me pop this right in here. And on your mark, you're gonna go to both toes at once, and I'll shoot it when you do. All right, and go. Love it. All right, so let's see how that popped for us. Yeah, so we're making the shadow just a character in these shots. Like it is as much a part of this as the outfit, as the color. All of it is just trying to create just a different element to the shot. Now, another nice fun thing we can do with hard shadows is we can control what the shadows look like or feel like. Oh, hold on. Don't move. Love this shot right here. Bring your chin over this way. There, good. Eyes right here. Chin down just slightly. Beautiful, right there, good. Straighten the face right here for me. There, good, right there. Chin down just a little bit. There, perfect. Love it. Absolutely love that shot. Beautiful. Fun. Great balance of color. Really fun. Okay, so ways we can play with what the shadows look like. One thing we can do is we can grid our light. So much like you could grid a softbox, you can grid a 7-inch reflector. So I'm just taking a 30-degree honeycomb grid. We're just going to pop it right in here. And I'm going to bring this back overhead. What this will do is it will prevent the light from spreading out in so many different directions. Chin up just a bit for me. Good, right there. Let's just see that. Yep. Really massive fall off of light. Really intense fall off of light. We're still, the face is still exposed right, but you see how quickly that light falls off along the edges of the frame. You could push that even further with...
James, really quickly, the question is, because we have a lot of lights on the site right now, how many lights are being used with the hard shadow look right now?
One. That's it, one light. We are not using any more than one light. Everything else is turned off. This is the only light that is doing anything in this shot. Once again, like this leans into the fact you do not need a lot of gear to take really fun or really interesting shots. We're going to shift to an even harder light. But I don't know if I want it with this outfit. Let me have you change your outfit while I change this light. Let's go with... You have like a one piece? Yeah. One piece in quotations? Yeah. Let's see whatever one piece you have.
All right, while we're doing the wardrobe change, we do have a lot of people talking about the instructors that have inspired them in the past. We've got Sue Bryce, who's also in Phoenix, Arizona. Felix Kuntz, who is a phenomenal photographer. Zach Arias in New York City. We've got, somebody said Mark Wallace. I don't know about that guy, but evidently people like him. And let's see. We also have Peter, of course. And then this question here, one of them was, couldn't you also do that with the Fresnel, although that would turn it into a giant speed light for all intents and purposes? I'm going to disagree with you there on that comment. In fact, on my hard light class that we just did a week ago, we shot with a large Fresnel. And so I'm not teaching this class. So I'm going to let James answer that question about the difference between a speed light and a Fresnel and using a Fresnel for hard light.
I would love to answer that question, but I don't have a Fresnel. So
I'll answer it.
Yeah, there you go.
No, the Fresnel, the difference between a speed light and a Fresnel, the size of a Fresnel, depending on the Fresnel that you use, you can have something that's 10, 12 inches, something very large, and it's going to have nice, even distribution of light that's round instead of horizontal. The light looks totally different. and because you can zoom and focus a Fresnel similar to a speed light, you have a lot more control of that. The hard light from a Fresnel, in my opinion, is the best hard light you can get. You just have to have a Fresnel that's large. So Aperture has some, Nanlite has some, Profoto has them, Godox has them, pretty much any brand. I've got the Nanlite Fresnels, I've got the Profoto Fresnels. Those are the ones I've used. If you want to see that, zip over to the Mark Wallace Hard Light in the Studio class, and you can see about an hour of shooting with Fresnel lens. Okay, back to this host, James Patrick.
That is such a bummer, because now I feel like I need to go buy something.
You can borrow mine.
Thank you, thank you. It's something, it sounds like it's a fun thing to play with. All right, back up another step for me. So what I've shifted to now is I'm using a optical snoot, which, think of it like, the way I kind of attribute is it's like a 7-inch reflector with the tightest grid on it possible. And I wonder if, I don't think we're going to be able to see the modeling light enough. No. The modeling light's not nearly enough to show on video what it's doing. Now you can see it a little tiny bit. We'll see it when it pops. What this does is this has aperture blades and a focus ring in the light. The aperture blades mean I could close down the size of the light or expand the size of the light. Oh yeah, you can see it. Look at that. On my subject, the focus can shift if the light on the subject, or really the background of the subject, is blurred or sharp. And with that, we can create a really directional, really fun punchy light. Let's just see right here. Let's do a wide stance. There we go, good. And push your hips to this left side for me. There we go, good. Have hands on the hips for me, right there, perfect. Let me pop up the power on that quite a bit. There we go, okay. There we go, perfect. Oh, I'm increasing the wrong light power. There we go, all right. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful punchy light. I'm gonna back my camera up just so we can see what this light is doing outside of the tight frame. Perfect. You can actually see the circle of light on the subject. Let me do a nice horizontal shot. Let's do something with the hands into the hair. There we go, good, just like that. Perfect, good. Looking down to the left. Beautiful. That is fun. That is really fun. So once again, we're allowing shadow to be a character in this shot simply because we're really honing and focusing the light in such a directional beam, and we're throwing that shadow on the background to just be its own character in this shot. But if we did not want something so hard and so directional, we wanted something to feel a little more, we'll say, commercial. Commercial to me, I feel, is more the antithesis of editorial. When I think editorial, I think a little bit more moody, I think a little bit more dramatic, I think a little bit more low-key, whereas commercial, I feel more similar to catalog work, is a little bit brighter, a little bit more open. All right, let me have you, Celeste, stand in front of this. So if I wanted to create like a fun, beachy vibe without the beach, I just picked up just a striped towel online. Let me center this just a little bit. All right, and I'm going to bring you really close to that towel. There you go. And let's bring this back around. Oh, what should we use with this? Oh, let's use a beauty dish. We haven't used a beauty dish yet. Something that is specular, a little directional, but not too harsh. That real quick. There we go. All right. Oh, you know what we need for this? No, let's do it this way first, and then we'll add stuff in. All right, let's just see. So the idea I want is I want it to look like this is a bird's eye view shot of you down on the towel. So you're going to cross one leg over the other, and I want one arm over the other, and it kind of looks like, yeah, kind of looks like you're laying into the towel. There we go, good. Let's just see what this pops like. Not bad. Not too bad. Let's see. Let's take our power down in half. Better. Let's work on our direction now. Like this should be a little bit more angular, a little bit more spread out. There we go. All right, here we go. Loving this a lot more. Beautiful. Love that. I think we should spread this light out even more. We're just going to back this up even more. So I'm just working on my angle as it hits our subject.
James, the question is, if you're mimicking the sun, like on a beach, wouldn't you use a hard light to have really hard shadows so it looks like, I guess there's a difference between overcast sky and a clear sky, but could you do a comparison between a soft light and a hard light for this setup?
Absolutely, I can. All right, go back to that pose. Do this here. Beauty dish to me kind of gives a nice in-between. There we go. Bring the eyes in camera here, good. Both hands above the hair, there we go. Just like that, perfect. Love it. Chin comes this way, there. Chin down. Beautiful. Love that. Perfect. All right, so let's shift that. I'm not going to change anything except the modifier. So direction's the same. So we should have the exact same angle, but let's just use a 7-inch reflector and see what that does for us. All right, let's hit that same pose. Let's see, look out. Beautiful. Yeah, love it. The only thing that I'm a little, I wouldn't say leery of, aware of is I don't love the hot spot on the towel. So let me just feather this just a scotch, see if I could drop that hot spot just a little bit. All right, let's see. There we go. Love it. Let's bring in, let's make this total color pop vibes. There we go. All right, so with sunglasses, with glasses, scoot over this way just slightly for me. There we go. I want to be very intentional about where her face is, because if her face is there, we have that, and we might like it. That actually kind of looked like the sun. I think it looks better just off. Chin up just a bit. There we go. Beautiful. Face back towards me. There we go. Actually, turn your face all the way here. Let's just see. Yeah, chin up now. Let's see the difference. Boy, it actually looks better with the sunburst, actually. I actually really like that. Bring the one hand back up here, other hand right here. There we go. Good, just like that. Beautiful. So we're just kind of having fun. Turn your chin this way here, creating that outdoor vibe, being in a ostensibly cold studio. It is the middle of summer, though. Another reason, like when we were thinking about, like we asked the question at the beginning, why would you shoot in a studio for swimwear? Another reason is it would be really hard to shoot outside right now. Really hard. All right, I really like that shot. Okay, so from here, let's do another outfit change for you. Let's go with, what's the most, you have like a brown one, right? Just like a plain brown? Let's go with that one. I think that one will work nicely next. So what we're gonna play with next is, we're actually gonna play with color. So, you know, having this little colorful backdrop is a nice segue. But we're gonna try to pop a lot more color into these next handful of shots.
Now, while you're doing that, we do have some comments. John Cornicello is in the crowd right now, and people are chatting with John about his fireworks CreativeLive. So yeah, he did a fireworks home studio and some short classes about misconceptions on lighting and lenses. John Cornicello, by the way, if you don't know, is a legend in the CreativeLive community. And he was in as an assistant, a guide, a guru. In every CreativeLive I did up until a couple years ago, and many, many, many other instructors. John has written a book about photography and lighting, and he's taught me a ton of stuff. And so if you've enjoyed some of my classes, you need to say thank you to John Cornicello, because his wisdom was passed on to me. So wow, it's so cool to have John here. And Michelle said, yeah, John rescued anything that went wrong during the lives. And that is absolutely true, because John has so much experience working in a studio. If anything was wonky, if there was any kind of thing that the instructor was like just thinking magically, like Radar O'Reilly, boom, John Cornicello would have that. So if you don't know about John, zip over. John, maybe in the chat, put in your Instagram so people can follow you. He's pretty legendary. And the other cool thing is John Cornicello's studio is now Seth Miranda's studio. So if you know Seth from Adorama TV, then that same space, and Daniel Norton, those guys are shooting in the same space that John basically made come alive and sort of baptized it in the spirit of creativity. We are all recipients to his goodness, which is great. That's what I love about CreativeLive, is that the wisdom and the experience of so many photographers and creatives and artists and painters and InDesign graphic designers and Photoshop gurus, that it shares, and it's wonderful for everybody. So thanks for all the people in the chat telling us who their favorites were, but absolutely great. Okay, one question we do have, James, and that is very informative. Is your background a giant piece of seamless paper? And the answer to that I know, but I'm going to let you answer it.
It is a full cyclorama wall. So we had this built 5 years ago now. And think of it just like a permanent installation of a giant seamless, where we have built in the curve right into the floor, and then the whole thing is painted just a flat matte white flat, so it's not reflective, much like the paper you shoot with. Like seamless paper is a non-reflective paper, otherwise you'd have like really bright hot spots wherever you're pointing your lights. So that's what gives us that infinite cove or curve to the actual shot. But a lot of these shots you can do with a seamless. In fact, all these shots you can do with a seamless. There's nothing we've done that you cannot do with a seamless background. We just happen to have the cyc wall. In fact, one of the next shots we're going to do, we're going to bring out a seamless. And I'll explain why when we do that. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking gels, like you just buy like a pack of colored gels. They come in all variations of color, just what was it, cellophane. And I'm going to be taping them to lights pointed at the background. And we're going to use 2 different colors. Now, when I'm choosing colors to work with, I was actually so perplexed by gels for the longest time. And the reason I was perplexed by gels is when I was like right out of college, I bought a pack of gels because I saw all these photographers doing these beautiful gel photos. And I said, well, this is the thing that's going to change everything for me. Once I get these gels, I'm going to be the greatest photographer in the world. And then I bought the gels, I slapped them on my lights, and I absolutely hated what the photos looked like, and I couldn't figure out why. I was really, really, really confused. And I ended up just putting the gels away for years and years, just too afraid to use them, just thinking, well, I must be doing something wrong. And when I started to get back into gels and experimenting with gels, I came through a process that helped me get a lot more comfortable with them. And the first step of getting really comfortable with gels was using gels on the background. Meaning, I'm just shooting gels into the background and using it to create different color backgrounds for my set or for my scene. Now, one of the tangential benefits of doing this was I didn't have a lot of money when I started as a photographer because everything is stupidly expensive. But I could now make my background any color I wanted simply by shooting gels at a background. So I no longer had to worry about buying endless rolls of seamless paper. I could just shoot gels and create different color backdrops for my shots. And that was a nice little hack for me for the longest time. So that was the first phase, and what we're going to do in this shot is using the gels as a background to the photo. So Celeste, let me have you come a little bit closer. Now, I have my main light gridded. The reason my main light is gridded is because we saw, particularly if you remember, like when we gridded our softbox and how much light it ate up, but the other thing it did was it prevented light from hitting the background. And because it prevented light from hitting the background, we should be able to see the gels on the background. So let's see how this pops for us. All right, hold on, let me make sure this is set right. Okay, right about there. All right, there we go. So when it comes to colors, I tend to go one of 2 directions when it comes to what colors I select. I like to select colors that are either really complementary to each other, meaning that they're close together on the color wheel, or they're really contrasted from one another. So what we have is we actually have, camera left, we have cyan, really like a nice deep cyan, and camera right, we have magenta. And where they meet and where they start to overlap, it starts to create like a nice ombre of colors where, if I were to zoom out a lot, you could see, we're just gonna take a nice wide angle shot just so we can see how the light blends together. So we can see where it is really that nice bright cyan camera left, and really that nice, deep, rich magenta camera, right? And where it tends to blend in the middle or ombre in the middle or coalesce in the middle, we start to get hues of purple, and we start to get some nice deeper blues. So let's go with a really wide stance. Turn yourself this way here. Let's go kind of to the balls of the feet on both feet, and we're gonna twist back open to this key light right here. Beautiful, just like that. Love that. Absolutely love that. Perfect. Stun. Celeste just doesn't take bad photos. Not today. Not today. This is really good. Okay. Now, my second phase of trying to get comfortable with gels was pointing them at the subject, but not using them as a key light, actually using them as a rim light. That was the next thing I got comfortable with. I wasn't comfortable enough with actually having them as my key light or my fill light, but using them as an accent light became a really fun way for me to create just different effects with my shots. Come a little bit closer for me. Right about there should be good. So we're just going to use these two lights, almost like rim lights or hair lights, just to create a little bit of accent on the side of her. Yeah, let's see what that looks like. All right, I was liking that last pose you were doing. You were turned this way. We had the arms up here. There we go, good, just like that. Chin down just a little bit, beautiful. Let's turn the hips this way a little bit more. So away from the camera, there, good. Beautiful, just like that, perfect. Love it. So similar to when we were using rim lights, just to accent the muscle definition, separating from the background, we're creating a very similar thing, only we're doing it with colors. Now, we just have to be really careful, because what we want to avoid, or what we want to be very conscious of, is we do not want stray colors hitting our subject where we don't want it hitting. So let me just bring you another step forward. Now, because these lights are not gridded, they're spreading out a lot. I'm okay with that, but I just don't want it spreading out too much so I'm getting colors that I feel look unflattering on my subject. So what I did was I just turned the lights a little more towards each other and a little away from her. You see what that pops up as? Yeah, I like it. I like it. Turn your chin to the left for me though. So once again, our key light is camera right. I need to bring her face into that key light. There we go, good. I like that. Have both hands on the hips for me, cross the legs. There we go, beautiful. You just have one hair cutting into that neckline right there. There we go, just like that, perfect, good. Chin down just a bit for me, beautiful. Love it. So two really fun ways that you can incorporate gels into these shots. One was you're just using the gels purely as a backdrop, and the other is you're using the gels actually on the subject as an accent light. Now I mentioned this whole time I've had this light gridded. And the reason, just to show the difference, is when this light is not gridded, we're going to lose some of that saturation on the background. And you can just see how much it eats up. Now the light on her still looks okay, like I still like the light on her, but to me that's eaten up way too much light and it's ruined the emotion we're trying to create in this shot. So that's why that light was gridded. But as I was kind of setting this up, I had this other idea, and we're gonna just try to recreate this. I'm gonna get rid of the cyan, and I'm going to get rid of the magenta. And we're going to go with some other colors. And while I'm doing this, if there are any questions, I'm happy to dive into those.
Right now we're caught up on questions. A lot of people saying that they're really excited about this class and excited that CreativeLive is back. I cannot explain how excited I am as well to have CreativeLive back. Really loving the gels and how that is working, and just your explanation of where to point the lights, how they should be. We did have one sad comment, made me sad. Michelle said, sad, all my soft boxes, and boom, it's covered in dust. Get it out, dust it off, start taking photos, meet up with some friends, join us for our photo challenges. That's what CreativeLive is all about. Let's get out there and start creating some really cool stuff. You don't have to be sad with dusty soft boxes and booms. So yeah, the question I have is, have you ever wanted to use, or have you ever had experience, James, with, instead of using gels that can melt with hot light over time, have you ever used like colored filters, the things that you can buy that are more permanent? Or also, have you played with using RGB lights instead of strobes to do similar effects that you're doing now? So yeah, the basic question is hot lights, strobes, and if you are using strobes, have you ever considered using more permanent filters instead of the gels?
It's a really good question. We talked about how I rarely have my modeling lights on my strobes. Now, my old strobes, which I bought 20 years ago when I was just out of college, they originally just came with whatever the tungsten lights that you screw in, and that was your modeling light. Well, they get really, really, really hot, and when you put gels on them, they melt the gel, and you set a little fire in your studio or your living room, which is not ideal. And then it smells really bad because you have burnt plastic that's just probably not good for you to be breathing in. So I learned that mistake really quickly, not to do that. Another reason that I might be a little hesitant to always have my modeling lights on. But, you know, have I experimented with other things? And the answer is yes. I actually am a huge fan of playing with LED RGB lights mixed with a strobe. It is something I'm almost positive we did it in one of our other classes, where I'm dragging my shutter, so I'm allowing the brightness of the LED to actually illuminate the subject in the frame, and then we're firing the strobe to freeze the motion at one part of the photo.
I believe that was like your first class this year, if not the second.
So.
But you definitely did like 2 hours on that.
Yeah, that rings a bell. I love it. I love creating light trails. I just think it's a real fun, thing to play with, is blending together multiple different types of lights. All right, so what I've done is I've created what should be just a straight orange backdrop, I think. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. All right, let's just see what this looks like here. And this should be a nice complement. Bring your chin this way here, there we go. This should be a nice complement, yep, to her suit. Like, we're not contrasting from her suit, we're complementing her suit. We're in the same color family. All right, I like it. Okay, now let's see if this works. Gosh, I hope this works. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna be super, super bummed, and we're gonna end up deleting it from the recording, so it never happened. I'm kidding. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to throw one more light on the background. But we're going to use that optical snoot. And what I want to do is, I'm essentially just trying to create a highlight behind her. All right, so let me have you step forward just a little bit right here. All right, let me change the channel on this so it's not firing at the same power. Let me just go D. All right, turn on this. Okay, let's bring this in closer to it. All right, let's see what that does. All right, so let me turn that light on here. D, okay. Let's just see, just baseline, what is this gonna do for me? That's what I thought. Pretty good, pretty good. We can make it better though. We can make it better, all right. Let's bring this in a little tighter. And we're gonna pop up the power. Probably a full stop, see what that does. Okay. There we go. That's cool. That's cool. I think we can play with the aperture blades. Just tighten that even more behind her. Love it. Absolutely love it. From there, now I can adjust the focus and just shift the focus a little bit, make it a little less sharp as a highlight. There we go. Nice. Bring one hand up here like this. There we go. Good. Love it. And I can make that a little bigger simply by, let's just back this out just a little bit. That should make it a little bit bigger. I was actually going to put a gel in the optical snoot, but I don't need it. Like, that's giving me exactly what I want without, oh, you can see what it looks like just with the optical snoot. There we go. Let me just bring this over here, there. All right, here we go. This a little bit. Beautiful. Absolutely love that. That is a fun shot. Look at that. Beachy vibes without the beach. That's a lot of fun.
So a quick question. So somebody asked, could you explain why some of those shots were silhouetted and some had all the lights? What's going on there?
Yep. So the reason some of those shots were silhouetted and some were not is because I was shooting before my light could recycle, particularly my key light. I have my key light at 100%, and because it's at 100%, it's going to take a second to recycle and be able to fire, whereas I have the optical snoot that's at half power. And because it's at half power, it's going to recycle a lot faster. So those shots where you see only the optical snoot firing is because my optical snoot recycled and charged up to fire again before my key light did. And you might think, well, why didn't the orange lights fire? And that's a really good question. The orange lights are actually not wirelessly connected to my camera. My key light's wirelessly connected to my camera. The optical snoot is wirelessly connected to my camera. Those lights on the background with the orange gels, those are super old. They don't wirelessly communicate with my new trigger. They're only firing when they see another strobe fire. So they're slaving off this key light strobe right here. And because the optical snoot is so defined and it's just sending just literally a circle of light, that light can't see it. And because that light can't see it, it's not going to go off. So that light will only go off if it sees this light right here. Same with that one over there. So once it sees that key light flash, it will also fire. So it's something I have to be conscious of and aware of, particularly if I'm using a lot of grids And if I'm using different lights and the lights can't see one of the lights firing, if they're required to have that line of sight to fire. All right, have legs crossed, both hands on the hips. Bring the hands forward on the sides of the hips. There you go, good. Push the hips this way, just like that. There we go, perfect, beautiful. Love it. So there it is again. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, love that. All right, so from here, I got one other idea I want to play with. Let me just see. We can keep the same suit on. Okay, so Victoria, let me get your help because we need to move out this backdrop. I'm just going to have you, let me have you bring this out.
While they're doing that, I just want to remind everybody that this class is free while we're streaming live, and then we're going to let it replay for the next 24 hours. But if you want to own this class, click the link in the description of this video. You can purchase this class, or you can subscribe to CreativeLive, and so you have access to the entire catalog, and you can see all of the different things. People have been talking about their favorite instructors. There are so many fantastic instructors on CreativeLive. And so you can go and explore and see what's there. In fact, I didn't even know this, but I discovered Matthew McConaughey did a speech on CreativeLive. He did a little talk, and I think some of the guys from the Shark Tank are on there. There's just so many people on CreativeLive to learn from. We have stuff on business skills, about marketing, how to price your stuff correctly, how to do prints. We have things about mixing audio, editing video, doing graphic design, Photoshop classes, classes on eVoto, classes on pretty much the entire Adobe Creative Suite. If you can think of it, it's on CreativeLive. We've got thousands of classes there, and James has done, I think this is your 4th or 5th class, I'm not sure, but around there. I think I've got 20 classes. Lindsay, and I mean, there are people that have lots of classes, some that have a few. Go and explore. You don't even have to have a subscription to go and explore. A lot of the classes have free trailers. You can see that. And then all of the stuff here on the YouTube channel, it's free. You can just go and look at that. So this class, just a reminder, it's free while we're live. It's going to play for another 24 hours. Nothing to see over there. Nothing fell down. And then you can either buy this class or you can subscribe and you have access to the whole channel. I highly recommend it. If you've done that, if you're one of those people that are a subscriber or you've purchased classes, leave a comment in the chat. Let people know if it's worth it. So don't take it from me. Take it to people that have watched. Hundreds of thousands of people. I think over 1 million people have watched CreativeLive courses. In fact, I know that's true. I think it's about 1.6 million different people have watched classes on CreativeLive. Okay, I think they're about done. Remember, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have an aha moment, leave it in the chat. Okay, we're going to go back here to the sky cam and actually to the side cam, and
there we go. It's like kind of like a magic show or a concert. Like you come back to this and everything's changed. So I mentioned we were going to throw up a seamless, and the reason we're throwing up a seamless is this next thing. I find it looks better when the background is darker, and a white background is not the easiest thing to make dark. So we just threw up a little gray seamless. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the gels back in for one more shot, because this was another area that I got really excited with when it came to being able to figure out how to use gels in what I thought was an effective way. And that was using gels to light part of the atmosphere behind the subject. And it helped to just once again create another little character to the photo that we could play with. And the two types of atmosphere I got really into using was either, you can use fog, and fog has become just so easy to use in shots to the point that they literally put it in a spray can, which I think is just hilarious. Just fog in a can. Or water. I think water feels a little bit more on brand for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape two complementary colors on my backlights. And much like we did where we were pointing the lights at our subject, is we're going to point them behind her, but we're going to add in an element that the lights can refract across and through, and that should hopefully look interesting. Okay, so Celeste, I'm going to have you step forward. We're just going to create a little separation between you and this background right here. There we go, right here. Another half step for me. Right there should be good. Let's just see what this looks like, just baseline. Before we do anything else, I just like to make sure our light looks good. There we go, perfect. All right, chin to the left for me. There you go, just like that. Let's see. All right. Yeah, it looks properly exposed. I would say this key light can come down probably by a stop. That seems a little hot. Everything else seems okay. All right, let's take everything out except that key light. And take it down right here, okay. That feels, let's cut the difference. Let's cut the difference. There we go, that looks perfect. Okay, so, and I feel like my purple gel is a little dark, so I'm going to just give that a little more juice. It is a pretty dark gel compared to the cyan gel. All right, so Miss Victoria, I'm gonna have you come over here. And what you are going to do is, we have just these mister bottles. I want you to mist just a nice wall of water behind our subject. The way I find it's best is to just go one high and one low, or just one high because this one's not going. So we'll just go like this, and it kind of creates like a nice cascade of water behind her. All right. So we will do this on my mark. Celeste, half step over this way. Yep, there we go. Let's turn your body this way here. There we go. Let's do a closed stance, just right in here. Twist back open towards me. Left hand right off the swimsuit top, just like this. There we go, just like that. Let me adjust this key light just slightly. There we go, right there. Okay. All right, and let's add the water in. Let's actually, Victoria, let's get you even closer in. Yep, right there. There we go. Good. Okay. And go. Beautiful. All right, let's just check that. Love it. I think we can get even more in there. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to toggle up this background light a little bit more. There we go. Bring this in here. Let's try to light this water up even more. And I'm going to have you step in even more, Victoria. Right there. Yep. Right out of frame. And go. Beautiful. There we go. Perfect. Love it. All right, let's check those. Super happy with that. Love that. Face me straight on, cross the legs. Let's have one hand up here, the other hand right here. There we go. Scoot over this way just a little bit for me, Celeste. Right there. Nice hops. All right, and mist away. Perfect. Good. Let's check those. Love it. Absolutely love it. Wrap the arms around, one arm around the rib cage, one arm around the other arm, just like that. Scoot over just an inch or two. There we go. And let's mist away. Beautiful. Love it. Eyes right here. Chin straight on towards me. There you go. Good. Chin over this way just a little bit. Beautiful. Love it. Let's see those. Loading, loading, loading. Nice. Absolutely love it. Beautiful. So once again, just another fun way to use gels in the shot, which is we're shooting it into an element where the light can bounce off, refract across it, just to create another little piece to the shot. So we've gone through a ton in oh gosh, a little over 3 hours. I mean, we've talked about catalog and e-commerce work. We talked about doing like a beauty hero shot. We've done athletic shots. We've done some hard light editorial. We've shot with gels, and now kind of trying to incorporate water into the shot as well. So an awful lot of stuff, but if there are any other questions, I'm happy to dive into any one of these elements just to add a little more illumination to it. But super excited that everyone could be here with us this afternoon.
Right now, we are totally caught up on questions, so fantastic job, James. I just want to remind everybody before we're done with this class, you can watch this for free right now while we're live, and we have we'll leave it on repeat for about the next 24 hours. If you want to own this class, support James, help him to create more classes. You can buy the class by clicking the link in the description of this video, or become a subscriber of CreativeLive, and you have access to the entire catalog. Thank you so much for joining us today. James, do you have some final thoughts for our viewers?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, and huge thank you to everyone who worked to make this production possible. Mark, who's been managing the boards and helping to engage with all the people in the chat. Victoria, for helping out behind the scenes, as well as a huge round of applause for Celeste for being our amazing muse today. But yeah, once again, thank you to everyone for tuning in, and it truly means a lot that you could join us. We love being a part of it. We love engaging with you, and we love that live component of it. So my appreciation and vote of thanks goes out to all of you.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, share this with people so that everybody can see this. Help us trick the algorithm into helping people learn and better their lives. Remember, if you're part of a photo club, a community, a couple of friends getting together, please let us know on Instagram. Give us a little direct message, something so that we can connect with you. We are going to bring back live meetups, we're bringing back photo walks, we're bringing back photo challenges, we're helping with curriculum, all free for photo clubs. So the community is a big thing for us. You will start to see us pop up at Imaging USA and WPPI and other events around the country, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And so the way that we can make this happen is for you to help us. We need you to help share these videos, help share the stuff on YouTube, subscribe, and talk to us on Instagram and all the different social platforms, on Facebook, etc. The more you're involved, the more people are going to be involved, and it will snowball into a community that is supportive, not competitive, a community that loves on each other. They're not haters. We want to have a very affirmative community, and we think we can do that in two ways. One, by teaching classes and bringing these things to you live, but also by helping people to be in real life, face to face, in rooms, getting out there, taking photos, supporting each other. That's what CreativeLive is all about. It's a community, and it's collaborative, it's inspirational, and it's educational. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you at the next live.